heading into the start of the season. What should we expect from Dak Prescott, and so much more. So check everything out on the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel. Once you're done with this one, let's dive into it. But before we do me a solid. If you enjoy these videos, you think they helped you, hit that thumbs up. It's huge for us here at Awesemo. Subscribing to the channel as well. Help us hit that 5,000 subscriber mark and continue to grow this channel so we can keep putting out great free content. Let's do it. The Steelers have definitely been one of the more difficult teams to figure out this offseason. So hopefully we'll begin to get some answers in training camp. Ben Roethlisberger's coming off a season where he attempted 608 passes and threw for 33 touchdowns while finishing as the QB 14 on the year. But things unraveled late in the season as the Steelers dropped 4 of their last 5 games after starting the year 11-0. Here's the thing, though. Pittsburgh had a really easy schedule during their winning streak, but they also got absolutely screwed by COVID-prompted rescheduling, having to play 3 games in 12 days and 4 in 20. That's a ton. Roethlisberger couldn't have looked worse as that grueling schedule came to a close, but 2021 is a brand new year, even if he isn't getting any younger. I'm actually not even here to talk about whether or not I think Big Ben is going to have a big year, and I mean big from a fantasy perspective, if you know what I mean, but more so to talk about the huge discrepancy in where he's being drafted compared to the rest of the Pittsburgh offense. Check this out. Najee Harris has a second-round ADP, despite the Steelers' offensive line still projected to suck, while Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and Juju Smith-Schuster are all being drafted inside the top 7 rounds. Roethlisberger currently has an ADP of 193 as the 27th quarterback off the board, so it seems like there's a clear disconnect here. Let's see what this team is looking like over the next month and maybe start fine-tuning our decisions. So the question is, if this entire Steelers offense is being drafted inside the 7th round with confidence, shouldn't Ben Roethlisberger be getting some more love? Or are we just overvaluing this entire Steelers offense for 2021? It's got to be one of them. I'll leave the answer up to you. No one wants to talk about the Jets because, well, they're the Jets. But you couldn't count on one hand the teams who have more question marks on offense than New York heading into training camp. Actually, you might not be able to count a single team that has more uncertainty from a fantasy standpoint than the Jets. First off, the backfield, a total unknown. Michael Carter was drafted in the 4th round and has an 8th round ADP in fantasy, despite having no idea what his workload is going to look like. Tevin Coleman's being drafted 7 rounds later and followed both his head coach and offensive coordinator over from San Francisco. Could he be the week 1 starter? Right now, I'd rather take my chances on Coleman as a super late round pick with very little risk. There's also LaMichael Pirine and Ty Johnson, whose roles are clearly undefined as well. And what about the pass catchers? Corey Davis signed a 3-year, $37 million contract this offseason and is coming off his best statistical year as a pro, posting 5 games of 100-plus yards in only 14 starts while averaging 10.9 yards per target and 15.1 yards per reception. Yet he's being drafted behind rookie Elijah Moore, who has yet to play a single snap at the NFL level. And let's not forget that while his role could be downsized, Jamison Crowder is still on the roster, and Denzel Mims was a 2nd-round pick just 1 year ago. All of this is to say that we have no idea what's going on in New York. And that's not even taking into account that a rookie quarterback in Zach Wilson will be under center this year. Believe it or not, there are few teams that I'll be paying closer attention to in camp than the Jets this summer. You should be doing the same.
What is going on, everybody? Good morning to you out on the East Coast. Good morning to you even more so if you're like me out on the West Coast. Oh boy, we're getting going here in the early morning. As you get in here, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Those all go a long way for us. I'll just get that out of the way here early, but also I need to introduce my guy, my dude, who's stepping up to the plate for us here at Awesemo this morning. That is one Anthony Gundacker. You know him better as Gundacker. How you doing, my dude?
Here, but yeah, I don't usually do the mornings, but I'm here. Let's do this.
Oh, well, there we go. Would you like to go on a monologue for me? Would you like to add anything to that lovely introduction this morning? Just we're ready to go. Period.
Yeah, no, I just mean like as a human being, I don't do mornings. Not like don't usually do the morning. I went to sleep at 7 a.m. and that's a normal thing. So imagine that turnaround, it being.
Wait, what? Okay. When we talked before the show, I assumed you meant 7 p.m. You went to bed at 7 a.m.
Yeah, no, that's every day. Like, so like when the higher ups, they were like, "Hey, Gun, you want to do the show Sunday morning?" Like they said that to me like 8 a.m. yesterday. I didn't really wake up and respond till 6 p.m. Like that's kind of my schedule. So is what I'm a night guy, man. What are you gonna do?
I mean, there's Night Guy, but that's like Wolf in Los Angeles kind of hours. It's like you have hunting season out there in Texas, but yeah, we're glad to have you here. We're ready to rock. We've got 10 games here on this lovely Sunday morning. We get a little church and we get a little fantasy baseball, or they could be the same thing for some of us. So either way, I'm ready to rock. How about you?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it right off the bat. Philadelphia minus 139 at Pittsburgh, 8.5 total runs here in this one. Figure we'll just kind of get the party started here. One side, Kyle Gibson, newly acquired. Not the pitcher that I've been the most fond of in my entire life, but I think you can't deny that going up against Pittsburgh and this lineup, which anything with Ben Gamel in a cleanup spot, probably not ideal. Now he's leading off, and Wilmer Defoe, what in the world? Gregory Polanco now clean up. What is going on with this lineup? How can you not like Kyle Gibson in this spot, Gundacker?
I mean, the pushback would be that he's overrated. His ERA definitely not in agreement with his Sierra, 4.46 on his Sierra. Expected ERA is a little bit better, 3.68. He's going to be dealing with a new catcher today, a little new team. Of course, the pluses are there. It's the Pirates, it's PNC Park. So do you think there's a range of outcomes where 6,900, it does get you a nice return if you're looking for 15 to 20. But I have lowered expectations in terms of what his true ceiling is day to day. His last couple starts were not necessarily locked down, but he wasn't actually, he was facing teams like the Astros, not necessarily the strength of schedule of a Pirates. But I mean, with Detroit 2 games before that, got shelled, ended up with negative. So I just don't think he's really that good. I think the Rangers were able to sell high on him. So I'm not excited, but 6,900, I get it.
Yeah, I get it too. Again, it's a price and it's a matchup. And Kyle Gibson, as I said, not my favorite pitcher to be targeting, but at least he limits hard contact. He keeps it relatively low, 7.6 degree launch angle, 344 expected slugging. Just that you never see the Ks. You don't see those really incredible games, but only a 3.8% barrel percentage that he's giving up on the season. I just think Pittsburgh already is neutralized just from how bad those bats are. I mean, you only have Brian Reynolds in there right now with a 519 expected slugging. Rodolfo Castro might be all right here, but he's just starting to get going. I'm not sure what he'll end up being here long-term, but we shall find out. On the other side of this one, Mitch Keller is, oh my God, he is so bad. And I think in the top stacks tool, we're seeing Philadelphia pop up right around 7% top stack potential as a result. But I mean, is this a guy that I can't imagine we're going to be rostering Mitch Keller. So I maybe that's off the table, but what is your interest in targeting him?
Yeah, we want to pick on him. He's obviously got some weaknesses. 325 average allowed at the house this year, 5.25 xFIP in PNC Park, and a 15% walk rate with almost a 30% line drive rate. And in this park, I'll look at that line drive rate and weight it pretty well. So I do think he definitely offers up some potential for some Phillies bats to make the stack list for me today. with Harper, Realmuto, Brad Miller being kind of the apples of my eye. But maybe a Gene Segura and a Jankowski who's batting second. Maybe they can swipe a bag. And I think 2K for Jankowski on FanDuel, decent opportunity for him to just kind of sneak into a lineup, unlock the keys to a high pitcher, maybe 2 high bats, and swipe a bag. But it's definitely not a priority.
All right. And on the other side of it, yeah, I'm just saying, like, we'll be picking on Gibson here. We'll be picking on him there. Are there any other specific bats on the Philly side that you're really kind of targeting?
No, I think being a contact pitcher, 2 lefties, Mitch Keller is 18% K rate, 313 average allowed, and an over 30% line drive rate, with just a 29% ground ball rate. I think it's a good spot for Harper, and I really think it's a good spot for Brad Miller, who we know has a lot of power if we can neutralize his strikeout potential. 27% strikeout rate against righties last 2 years, but when he's not striking out, he does have a 253 ISO in the last 2 years against righties. And this is a really good spot for him to flex that power. And he's another guy that looks a lot juicier on FanDuel at 2,200 versus 4,100 DraftKings price point. But yeah, it would be Harper and Miller for me.
Yep. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. We'll keep it moving here. We'll make up a little time here on the front end so we can enjoy ourselves on the back end. Chicago Cubs plus 106 at Washington, 8.5 total runs. Fetty on the mound for Washington Nationals. Adbert Alzolay, of course. We've seen him around here for the Cubbies. Pitchers in this game, what kind of sticks out to you?
This Nats lineup's not out yet, but if it comes out, I don't know if I can get 7 righties, maybe 6 righties, the pitcher. I might have some loose exposure to Alzolay. He's kind of like I don't know if he's my strange addiction. Don't ask questions you don't want to know. But a 30. It's a Billie Eilish. Am I allowed to make Billie Eilish references?
Yes,
30%. Okay. 30% K rate against righties this year. And a 178 average allowed. So if you can really get a lineup that's more righty heavy than not, for me, is a range of outcomes where those splits will play. I do think he's a little bit overpriced to feel comfortable with having a large investment in him, like a large portion of your lineups. But I do think there's some merit in playing him if we can really complement his pretty extreme righty to lefty split. So as long as like Soto and Bell are like the only 2 real lefties in this lineup, or the only 2 guys batting from the left side of the batter's box, I get to a little bit of Alzolay.
Tell you what, it's crazy to see Eric Fetty here, 11.6% chance of being the top pitcher on the slate, 12.3% ownership. And then Alzolay right next to him at 10.2%, but only 1.5% owned. It seems like a little bit of disparity here between the two. I think Alzolay is a decent enough pitcher rate at a 25% strikeout rate, as opposed to Fetty, who has a 20.3% K rate. But maybe that speaks a little bit to just how bad this Cubs lineup has become in the last 3 days. But talk to me about Eric Fetty. Is this a guy that you're is he on your radar at all today?
So my first rough draft for my player pool, I ended up with 6 names, and he was not one of them. So no, okay. He doesn't excite me. I definitely understand the thought that the Cubs lineup is so watered down and trade away everything good. But to me, I have this bad hitting can still beat bad pitching. So I'm probably not going to do much with Fetty here, especially if he's getting like double-digit ownership. That's just a crazy sentence.
No, it kind of is one of the more jarring things that I saw on the top pitchers tool this morning, but it makes sense. I'll just say that it makes sense. Maybe I just don't want to do it. That might be the right way of putting it, I would suppose. But looking at these lineups, I mean, Rafael Ortega, now you're a leadoff guy there. David Bodie here in the 2-hole, Ian Happ. Patrick Wisdom, we know, has a bunch of power, but all in all, this Cubs team, it's pretty poor. They have a 4.7% top stack potential, coming in a little bit under owned, but I don't want to go nuts with them. How about you?
No, I would say Rafael Ortega has been really, really good to me. So I have no reason to stop. He's still going to be pretty cheap. There's still a couple of these next man ups. It feels like we're getting September call-ups on August 1st with some of these lineups lately. And Ortega has been really, really solid for me. And then, like you said, Wisdom is a guy that has like a two true range of outcomes is homer or strikeout. And Fetty so far this season is rocking a 21% K rate. That's better than his 15 and 13% the last 2 years against righties. That's chip in a chair territory for Wisdom, who we know has really, really immense power. So if you're going to continue to give Wisdom, 4 or 5 at bats to swing one, I'll get to him, especially 2,900 on FanDuel.
Yeah, it seems like a useful little number there for him as well. Definitely agreed. And the Washington side, we do not have a lineup. Maybe we can revisit it here in a second. But outside of Bell and Soto, I mean, you're probably going to get Luis Garcia in that lineup from the left side as well, I would assume. Hit a homer the other day at like the 2K number, but we'll see. He's up to 3.4K there, probably in the 5 or 6 hole. But this Washington team, could you possibly be looking at going to Soto? I mean, his ownership right now over on DK, it's not kind of out of control. It doesn't seem like yet. It's a guy that's right around 14%. I wouldn't mind being a little bit above that. If you're not going to be playing Alzolay, he makes a great target, I would assume. Kind of making a 2-man with him and Bell makes some sense. But what's your interest here in Washington?
Yeah, so like I said, Alzolay for me is a play if this comes out with enough righties where I can be like, okay, I could eat a run too. The reason being is he has severe splits. His righty number is really good, but against lefties, really bad. A 5 xFIP, 275 average allowed to lefties so far this season, an over 4 home run per night. Yeah, over 4. And that's not, obviously that's likely not sustainable, but he's got a 42% fly ball rate and a 39% hard contact rate to lefties. So the makeup for him to be a guy susceptible to power to lefties is their high fly ball, and those balls are hit hard. So Juan Soto is definitely a guy that would profile well. The concern I have with Soto going forward after they traded away Trey Turner and a couple of their pieces is how much protection Soto has day by day to see quality pitches. But that's going to be more so against teams that are fighting for something, right? The Cubs don't necessarily have to play games and feel like they need to win games here. They just play some baseball, throw some pitches. So I'm in on Soto. 6K is that's a price for him to be in the middle of this lineup, but he definitely profiles well. He has one of the better bond detector scores on the day. And then to add to it, Josh Bell could piggyback off him and take advantage of those power splits as well. He hits for a lot of power from the left side, almost a 250 ISO since the beginning of last year to righties with the 874 OPS. So while I don't think I'm stacking the Nats here, Soto and Bell definitely line up well favorably against Alzolay.
Favorite bat from the Cubs to close it out?
Ortega leading off, really, really economically like or fiscally responsible if you want to invest in a leadoff guy. And he's been getting on base and he's been getting me double-digit fantasy points. So I definitely play some Ortega.
Yeah, we like that. Those are you like that? You like that? Oh, speaking of football, this is a great little segue here. We have 2 new YouTube channels that you need to be checking out right now. We have an Awesemo at Fantasy Football channel. That was my terrible Kirk Cousins impression. As a Vikings fan, not my favorite dude in the entire world. But then also our at Awesemo Odds channel. If you check it out on the Twitter sphere, go over to YouTube. You'll enjoy all of the things that we're doing over on YouTube with these 2 new channels. Again, that's the at Awesemo Fantasy Football channel and then the Odds channel as well for all the sports betting content that you crave. Just click on the pinned tweet that is coming into, the twinned message that is going to be into chat here to subscribe to those channels and make sure you have your notifications on so you know whenever the videos are going live. We've got people putting out stuff every single day. Matt Gajewski putting things together here with everybody here on the team. He's just an incredible fantasy football mind. Also, Matt Gajewski and Ben Rossa doing their podcast. Check that out as well. It's called Betting You. All you have to do is check that out on the main page when that pops up. We have episodes now, and it'll be coming out here throughout the season leading up to football. So check it out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but definitely be following that good stuff in this Awesemo Odds sports betting channel. Content for everything. Best bets, defensive players, best bets for NFL Week 1 matchups. I did a video with Laffy for that. It is the best that we are almost to football season. I love MLB. I loved NBA. But man, NFL season, we all know how crazy those contests get. So start your prep now. Start putting in the work here so you can be all caught up and ready to go once football season arrives, because it's going to be here before you know it. Let's keep ourselves on rolling. Kansas City Royals plus 238. Plus 238. That's a real number. Going up against the Toronto Blue Jays, now in actual Toronto. Congratulations to them. 6 total runs here, 3.6 implied here for Brad Keller and the Kansas City Royals. Best of luck to them in this spot. But let's talk pitching, because Brad Keller, 6.1K, probably not going to be going up against the best baseball team that exists, or best hitting baseball team up and down an entire lineup. So we'll maybe skip over him unless you have something to add here on the other end. But Jose Abreu, the pride and joy of Minnesota, goodbye. Take care. Drive home safely. I think this is going to be one of your most popular pitchers here on the entire day. He's coming out at the top of our top 2 pitcher percentage. The K's are there in a way that they haven't been previously in his career. How do you feel Jose Abreu fares in his debut with the Blue Jays today?
Yeah, what more could you ask for? The big lane of this Royals lineup, 3 through 8. That's Salvi, Benintendi, Dozier, Ryan O'Hearn, Michael A. Taylor, and Edward Olivares. Only one guy in that lane strikes out under 26% against righties since the beginning of last year. There's plenty of strikeout potential. Again, new pitcher, new catcher. And you throw in some turf. He is a guy that can get some ground balls. Maybe stuff reacts differently, but it's a great upside matchup for him at home. And his offense projected to almost lap the Royals in terms of run total. It should be noted that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is not in the lineup, so maybe it weakens that run total between now and lock. But I still think it's a super, super powerful and talented Blue Jays lineup. And Brad Keller, backed by that bullpen, is not a ton to fear. So I'm in on Berrios, and I think a lot of times when a pitcher gets really, really egregiously owned or projected to be high owned, I'm like looking for reasons to not play him. But 8,600 leaves just an incredible floor to ceiling ratio where, 18 definitely doesn't kill you, and you feel like this could be one of those 25 to 30 ceiling games for him because of this matchup. So he's definitely my only tier 1 pitcher so far, and he'll be my highest owned pitcher on DraftKings without question.
So when you put tier 1 next to it, it's like that's the premier guy on the slate. I want him everywhere.
Yeah, so I like to have 3 tiers. Tier 1 being like 50% plus, tier 2 being like anywhere between 20 and 40, usually around 30, and the tier 3s are just like that spray and pray category, just to get some diversification in 100 plus lineups.
Love it. Yeah, tiers. I for me, everybody only knows that I cry then when Paul George gets scratched. But yes, I like your tiers a lot more than my tiers. They are more enjoyable to watch long term. Going to the Toronto Bats here. This is a team that's always been at the top of the top stacks tool. I feel like I'm overweight to them every single slate. I feel like everybody at Awesemo is overweight to them every single slate, amongst Adam, amongst Greg. Whenever we break them down, their top stack potential, 12% on this slate. That is a hefty number, coming in only around 6.6% ownership share. They are massively positively leveraged. People don't want to pay up for that. I don't think it's that hard. I was building some lineups before the show, trying to do some 3-max stuff, and it seemed like going Berrios with these Toronto Bats is not the hardest thing to pull off today. But Toronto Bats, do you have any apprehension at their tags? And how much are you looking to stack them up compared to the rest of the field?
Yeah, so to follow up on your point, Vladimir Guerrero was coming in at 6,300 on DraftKings as a price point. That's a hard guy to fit into a stack. Now that he's not in the lineup, we've only got 4 or 5K guys. So it definitely becomes a little bit more of an obtainable stack to land on. And like I said, Jose Berrios being the premier option pitching wise pre-flop, at least, it's a pretty easy stack to get to. So that's kind of a twofold plus. So yeah, I'm in on Blue Jays. Right now, I think they're going to end up being my highest owned stack to start with. Brad Keller is certainly somebody with a low K rate that can allow these really talented high ISO bats to make contact with the ball, and he also allows a pretty high average to both sides of the plate. So I'm not fearful of him. I will say Keller does have kind of an extremely high ground ball rate, so high ground ball rates can play spoiler to a stack. So I don't be kind of numb to the results, but ground ball rate playing on turf, it's just a different thing. So I'm in on the Blue Jays.
Me as well. Yeah, I love that point about not having Guerrero Jr. in there. He's only worth half a run. I feel like he maybe would be worth more than half a run. I don't know. The implied total just dropped down to 5.7 here from the 6.2 we saw earlier. He's definitely the best hitter in baseball. So not having him in a lineup is definitely meaningful. If you're looking to pick one Kansas City Royal, my answer is almost always Sal Perez because he's in the catcher spot, 4.8K, pay up to be contrarian at the spot. But if you're targeting Jose Barrios, is there somebody that sticks out to you for massive leverage here going to this KC team that might stick out to you, that might sneak into your player pool?
Yeah, Barrios gives up power to lefties since the beginning of last season, an over 1.6 home run per nine to lefties. And this year has allowed a 260 average to lefties with almost a 4 xFIP and a 40% hard contact rate. So he's going to have to, if we're pitching him, we're going to have to grit our teeth on a Santana or Benintendi at bat. So probably one of those two. Santana being more likely to not strike out. He just has a 16.6% K rate. So maybe look out for Santana as the guy that he really needs to get through to feel confident.
Yeah, him and Benintendi, both pretty low K rates, too, underneath 20%. Definitely guys that can make contact here in this spot. I don't hate either of those calls. I like combining that. Obviously, Sal Perez, the guy with the 541 expected slugging there, but from the right side of the plate, 55.8% hard hit percentage. I mean, Sal Perez, what in the world, dude? Pretty good at hitting balls hard still. But yeah, I like the lefties for sure in this spot as well. I think that kind of wraps this one up. Anything else from this game?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Just be refreshing the top stacks tool. Make sure if anything changes with Toronto here leading up to lock, of course, after this show, directly on this stream, we got our old pal EMac. I see him lingering there in the chat. He's hanging out up with Terry McBride. They're going to be taking you guys all the way up to lock. So you won't want to go anywhere. Just hang out here. Baltimore plus 120 at Detroit, 10 total runs. In this one, Spencer Watkins on one side, Spencer with an S. That's always fun to look at. And Tyler Alexander on the other side. This is a game environment. It's only 75 degrees, so not super crazy hot for the afternoon here in Detroit, but winds blowing out pretty substantially, 10 to 12 miles per hour, 15 mile an hour gusts. And you got Spencer Watkins, Tyler Alexander on the mound. Neither of them are very good pitchers, it would look like. But what are you doing, if anything, here with the pitchers other than targeting them?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to play either pitcher. Fun note about the Orioles, Cedric Mullins not in the lineup, so Austin Hayes gets an opportunity to lead off. And you know, there was a day earlier in the season where the Orioles against lefties was actually kind of a Cinderella spot. So they're coming out all righties here. Tyler Alexander against righties this season, 314 average with a 225 home run per nine, 46% fly ball rate and a 41% hard contact rate. So a lot of fly balls, a lot of hard contact. And you mentioned some wind blowing out. Could be a really fun spot for the Orioles stack to maybe surprise some people.
I don't think they're going to – people are going to be rostering them. I find this slate to be extremely interesting because there's nothing that I feel super secure over on DK. FanDuel, you know, a one-pitcher site, you can kind of pick and choose your spots and kind of focus in on those. But on a two-pitcher site like DK, you're not going to feel very secure about at least one pitcher that exists in your lineup, or I find it very hard to believe. I mean, Adam Wainwright is the guy that we'll get to a little bit later that I think I like the most on this slate. Charlie Morton's up there at 10-2 in Atlanta. It's kind of an interesting game environment there, considering it's almost 90 degrees with the wind blowing out as well. So the game environments make me a little bit shaky on some of these pitchers up top. Looks like we should be okay getting the game in the Mets for the Mets game. And I see Loco in chat too. So he'll keep you guys all apprised of the weather leading up here to lock. I think that it should be all right to get going here for the Mets, and Marcus Stroman should be viable, but I almost never play that guy anyway. But as you were saying there, like there's just not going to be a lot of great spots for pitchers, but Baltimore is going to get a ton of ownership as a result of this lineup just being extremely cheap and easy to afford. I think the same kind of thing applies, maybe a little less so here for the Detroit Tigers, which for all intents and purposes have been much, much improved here for the last month and a half of the season. We've seen some massive run totals. They have some guys in Akil Baddoo who can kind of get things done. Jonathan Scope hits the power. Robbie Grossman and Miguel Cabrera going back in time. And Eric Haas is a great catcher option. How are you handling Detroit in this spot?
Yeah, so right now the Blue Jays run total has dropped pretty significantly. Well, I would say significant, but I'm looking at 5.6 right now. Since Vladimir Guerrero's not in the
Maybe
lineup.
that was because I bet the under as we were talking through it.
Well, yeah, you whale, you.
I know, I did.
So the Tigers have 5.5 implied run total right now. So essentially, they're projected to give you the same, perhaps at least you have to bet on the same, whether they score around the same as the Blue Jays. And looking at Spencer Watkins, so far in his big league sample size, just a 0.79 home run per 9 to righties with an under 30% hard contact rate. But I would kind of put him on regression watch because before he got called up in the minors, just 13 innings of sample size, he did allow a 286 average to righties and 3 bombs in those 13 innings. So he may not be this much of a not allow homer guy to righties, and that might be a fun spot for Jonathan Scope and Miguel Cabrera. But looking at the top stacks tool, this is not going to be a secret. Your Tigers are projected to be the highest owned stack on the slate, and they are the worst leverage in terms of how much you got to have to be over the field. Right now, we have them at a 7.6% chance of being the top stack, and they're got a 15% ownership share. So negative leverage there. And that makes you think, are they, is that something you want to be under, be at the field, or be over the field to kind of bully the pot when it comes to them being the stack? I think this game as a whole seems fun. It could be a little bit of a shootout. But there's some ownership involved here.
Yeah. And Spencer Watkins, 3.1 ERA, 1.43 whip. He got absolutely obliterated against Miami in Baltimore. This is a better ballpark traditionally than you would have in Baltimore here going into Detroit. So yeah, he's on the road here, but otherwise that's really the only game that he's gotten shelved. It's the only game that he's given up more than 1 earned run. So for 5 innings here, he's going to be pitching 90 pitches. I don't know. Something tells me that, oh man, I don't know if I'm as bold as to say I want to be rostering Spencer Watkins in this spot, but I don't know. I think he might be able to neutralize Detroit enough where this ownership is just a big, hefty number. And I'm always inclined to be jumping off of these super popular stacks as is, especially if it's not a Coors spot, which this isn't. And you're getting Coors-like ownership for these guys because they're cheap and easy to afford. And maybe they've treated people well here and there the last however many games. But I'm usually willing to jump off there. I think the Baltimore side, yeah, it's a little bit more negatively leveraged, but you can really get some interesting pitching builds going to some of the cheapies, even by like some 2 or 3 mans, combining Austin Hayes at sub 3K price tag over on DK. So Anthony Santander 2K flat in cleanup for Baltimore. I really don't mind that side of it a little bit more. But Detroit, just kind of like rounding it all out here. Let's favorite bat from Baltimore and from Detroit. We'll kind of do that to round it out.
From Baltimore, probably Trey Mancini snap call. And then from Detroit, there's a little bit of fish here because we're working with small samples in terms of results in the majors and really in the minors for Watkins. But I guess a kill Badu, man, take advantage of that leadoff lefty righty, a 286 ISO against righties so far this season with a 965 OPS. That dog will hunt. So I'll take some Badu versus Mancini.
All righty. We've got we have 6 games left. All right, we'll jump the gas here. Cincinnati plus 179 at New York Mets here going into Shea. We're excited. Go Mets. I don't really care. I don't know why I said that. Vladimir Gutierrez, 7.7K over here on DK. Up against these Mets that now add Javi Baez into the lineup. That's absolutely insane to be looking at. And then Marcus Stroman on the other side would be the pitcher you'd be a little bit more interested on, but I just never roster this dude. Am I wrong in doing so?
Stroman, I think he generates it's overvalued. I think he's a solid real life pitcher. I think he's overvalued for fantasy. All right, he's really just not a strikeout guy. So in today's case, you're paying you're paying like crazy price for a contact guy at 9,700 with an overall 20.8% K rate at home this season and a 20.5% just in general. His ERA a little bit better results wise than his Sierra and expected ERA of 4.39. So I think there's an easy path to justify not playing him at 9,700. I did throw him in. Actually, I didn't. I mentioned I have 6 pitchers in my pool. I don't have Stroman at the moment, so I'm not there on him. But like he's got solid enough run prevention that if he ate 6 or 7 innings and maybe had 5 Ks, hitting the pitcher a couple times, and then you do see in this lineup we got Max Schrock, Eugenio Suarez, Tyler Naquin, and Aristides Aquino combined. They're probably averaging a 28% K rate. So there's a world where he could maybe get you a strikeout per inning or less, and especially that 5 through 9 with Schrock to the pitcher. There's a lot of strikeout potential there. So I don't hate the in today sample only. I don't hate justifying playing him, but typically I think he's a little bit overvalued, and 9,700. For what his mean is probably not something I think is optimal a lot.
Yeah, I'm there with you. And Vladimir Guerrero is here on the other side, 35.2% hard hit percentage. That's good. Everything else about him is pretty terrible. Only a 15.8% K percentage, 10.5% walk percentage on the season, a 334 xWOBA, and a 425 expected slugging. That's not going to be great long-term here. And there are a number of guys here between Jeff McNeil, Dominic Smith, Michael Conforto from the left side. Brandon Drury, I keep seeing his name on the home run alerts, and I don't really know what to think about that because I don't believe that he plays in Arizona in the year 2016 right now, but I guess he's back to doing things that are good. And then looking at Peter Alonso here from the right side, Javi Baez has some power, obviously, even though he has a 36.4% K percentage. The Mets, I think, look like a team that I want to be invested in. Top stack potential, 7.4%, still an 11.6% ownership share. I just think there might be an easier way to get a little bit unique, and there's power hitting in that lineup up and down everywhere. So how are you dealing with the Mets, considering they are super popular again today?
I think I want to play him. Also, to not close the book on Stroman, I just kind of realized Joey Votto is not in the lineup today.
Oh, so that's 2 home runs that aren't going to be hit.
Yeah. So this is a pretty weak Reds lineup. So maybe I might backdoor Stroman into the pool, get some exposure. As far as playing the Mets here, a lot of ISO 1 through 5 over 200. My numbers don't really project well for Brandon Drury, former Yankee great. But I'm pretty much getting off the bus after Conforto in terms of guys throwing it into my player pool. Stack wise, it's fine. I don't hate it. Gutierrez definitely has had a home run issue, but that's a product of pitching in Great American Ballpark. His road splits in terms of keeping the ball in a park, his home run per 9 does dip under 1. However, the xFIP is right around 6, and he still has an elevated fly ball rate and a low strikeout rate. But the walk rate starts to get a little bit nervous at 10.8%. So I'm in there on the Mets. But I'm not expecting Great American Ballpark results. But it looks like we might get a positive win boost here. So yeah, 1 through 5 for the Mets will absolutely be a qualifying stack for me today. It's just a matter of what kind of number I tack onto them. Instead, we have them at a 6.9% top stack percentage, 7.4%. So I actually would probably be over that number. I'd probably be sitting around probably 10%.
Yeah. Anything else to round out this game then, Gundacker?
Nah, the only thing is I might end up with more Marcus Stroman than I want. Looking at this lineup is so bad.
It's kind of the Jameson Chyon treatment that I put into play on Friday, where it's like, how could this go wrong? How could this possibly? That one didn't go wrong. I don't know. The way that this goes wrong is Jesse Winker just does Jesse Winker things. Max Schrock, don't know much about the cat, but in the 5 hole, he's got to be better than Suarez. Can't really say much about that. He's been abysmal. But either way, we are sponsored today by OddsShopper here at Awesemo. OddsShopper is the #1 place that you want to be going in order to make a bet. if you're going to be looking at a bet, making any kind of sports bets that you are looking at doing, OddsShopper is the place to go shop lines. And if you want to be a long-term profitable bettor, finding the best lines, attacking them at fortuitous times, like when you don't see Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in a lineup here for Toronto, and you want to get on the under of a game when it has a 10.5 total runs, you go to OddsShopper, you find where the book is with the best odds, you click on it, and you go to that book and you make money. That is basically what it is. If you want to combine it too with all of the amazing tools between the MLB player props tool that we have, if you did the NBA player props tool, you know how profitable and spot on that thing is. But then the power rankings and the sports betting model that we have an MLB power rankings and sports betting model free right now, free trial for that. Check out the game predictions for the day, the power rankings for the individual teams. It is the easiest way to you can put everything together in order to make informed decisions in the betting market every single day, all day. Check that out. We've got producer Jordan here, best producer in the game that isn't named Tyler, for sure. Absolutely love all of the tools that we have here. Eric Fetty, looking at his strikeout number, you can take a look at what he is over on the player props tool, put that into play, click on that, make money, call it a day. I'm a big fan of it. It is so easy and so necessary to the process to just make informed decisions every single day. And in the long term, you shall win money. I promise you. It is just that easy to do over there at OddsShopper, combined with all of our tools here at Awesemo. Let's get ourselves going to next up on the board, New York Yankees. Oh my Lord, we get to talk Yankees. How scale of 1 to 10, how irrationally confident are you in this Yankees team going forward?
Irrationally confident. I'm this far into the season, I've been burned a lot, right? I don't want to keep touching the stove, holding my breath, but I love Anthony Rizzo, so I'm there. Greg asked me yesterday, did I think or what was the better offense, Yankees or the Dodgers? So it's clearly the Dodgers because they have the hit for average kind of built in. Yankees are just that Death Star that's going to be swinging for the seat. So that's not always going to have a high success rate, but is probably the most fun lineup I've seen in years.
Yeah, this is a ridiculous team at this moment, and maybe not today with Brett Gardner, Tyler Wade, and hitting in an NL park where you're forced to have Jordan Montgomery out there swinging a bat, which can't be fun to watch. But 1 through 6 here, Torres has not been that good this year, I would assume. But 1 through 5 for sure. Oh my Lord, the Yankees. No Stanton in the lineup. He's in an NL park. They let him play the outfield the other day. I was expecting funny things to happen, and it didn't. Unfortunately, it could have been fun, but this Yankees team's ridiculous. But going up on the other side of them here, Sandy Alcantara, looking at this guy, this is a tough spot here for the Yankees. It's a bad ballpark. We know the amount of power, though, that exists in the bats of Rizzo, Judge, and Gallo, and Sanchez, and Odor from the left side here up against a righty. How are you treating the Yankees today?
So I don't have I'm not rose-colored glasses here. I'm not expecting a lot of runs. Marlins actually have a really solid bullpen, and Alcantara is a really good pitcher. And I think Alcantara, if this was like a Yankees lineup from 2 weeks ago, like this, Alcantara might be my highest owned pitcher. This is still a lineup that's going to offer a lot of strikeouts. The lane to look at is 2 through 5. Judge, Gallo, Gary, and Odor. 30% plus K rate collectively. That's a lot of strikeout potential, but Alcantara does dip in strikeouts when it comes to pitching against lefties, just 17%. So maybe that neutralizes Gallo a little bit. And we know Rizzo is not a big K guy, and Odor might also get neutralized a little bit. So it's kind of a mixed reaction. I have Alcantara in my pool right now as one of my tier 3 exposure guys, just because I do think it's going to be a super plus park. And we've already seen the Yankees get kind of robbed of a few Yankee Stadium homers in this park. I do want to mention Anthony Rizzo leading off is incredibly fun. He's homered in every game as a Yankee so far. And if you got, where's EMac? Guys like EMac that can remember back when he was leading off for the Cubs, it just felt like he was always producing. So I do like him as at least a one-off play here. Aaron Boone has shown an ability to kind of dabble in the NL double switches and stuff like that. So I won't get too married to this stack. Giancarlo Stanton played the outfield the last 2 games and was always double switched out midway into the end of the game. And we also seen them double switch, and part of the double switch is moving the pitcher spot around as well. So Jordan Montgomery is somebody I would like to play, and I will play at 7,400. But yesterday, Domingo Germán, for example, they loaded the bases for his spot, and Boone gave him the hook early. So there's a world where Montgomery maybe doesn't go as deep as you guys might be expecting him because of the urgency for the Yankees to win. On the Marlins side, I don't know if you caught that. I think Don Mattingly has COVID, and they yesterday they had a replacement skipper, so it's not the same skipper making the calls over there from Miami.
Skipper above replacement. I don't know how to factor that one in, but yeah, it's I know how to factor in this lineup, which is not going to be pretty. However, it ends up coming out because, oh boy, no Marte in there now. That's not going to be ideal for them going forward. Who's the guy that Adam Duvall now gone as well here. This Miami lineup is going to look ridiculously stupid, and it will for the remainder of the season. We saw Tyon kind of mow through it here. Miami up against lefties here for the season as well. I mean, 28.1% K percentage. That's the highest in the majors, and I'm seeing that kind of translate here for Jordan Montgomery. Second most likely top 2 pitcher percentage here, 26.4%, nearly 50% ownership, but I don't care here. Anything to talk about from Miami bats whatsoever?
Miguel Rojas might be a decent look, low K rate guy, 900 plus OPS against lefties since the beginning of last year. But that's kind of like the apple of my eye there. I like, it wouldn't shock me if like Brian Anderson or Jesus Aguilar got into one, but the rest of this lineup is really unproven. A couple of guys that are getting their first big league at bats during this series. So you got to expect mediocrity at best.
That's probably the right way to put it. Not mediocrity, the Yankees lineup. My God, the AL East and the NL West, it is absurd what those 2 divisions did here at the deadline. It's going to be a really, really fun September. I can tell you that much for sure. Going to Milwaukee, we got Milwaukee plus 153 here at Atlanta Braves. Brett Anderson on the mound here for Milwaukee. Charlie Morton on the other side here. Obviously, Charlie Morton's the guy to be talking about first. 10-2 is a big, hefty number here, but he's been worth it in a lot of these previous games here. But this game environment, man, it's hot. It's your typical Atlanta hot summer day. And then you're also seeing the wind blow out. How are you handling pitching in such a good hitting environment?
Man, Charlie Morton, the ownership on him, the ownership on him feels a little bit uncomfortable. Him being number 2. Yep. Yeah, I don't get the warm and fuzzies on that. I get it. 30+% K rate against lefties. I definitely understand like why he projects well, but that ownership for him does kind of scare me. But he's a big ground ball guy. He can keep the ball on the ground. He's got a pretty solid defense behind him. This is kind of a new look Braves lineup as well, including a couple of different guys defensively. But I think I'm there on Morton. I just think 10-2, like I mentioned Berrios. Like I was gonna be pretty bullish on Berrios, but I also just think his price gives me some room for more of the median range outcome. With Charlie Morton at 10-2, like you really, really want him to be like the top scorer. So I have him right now as a tier. I have him in my tier 3 category. That may change, but yeah, I'm not in love with it.
Alrighty, and then Brett Anderson. Oh boy, is he not very good. 47.6% hard hit percentage given up on the season, 486 expected slugging, only a 14.2% K percentage. And now on the Atlanta team, look at this. Freddie Freeman, your one lefty that's kind of stuck in there, but everybody else coming from the right side here. Ozzie Albies, switch hitter leading off. Jorge Soler, new acquisition from Kansas City. Oh boy, is that a lot of power in the 2-hole today. And Austin Riley, who has 5 homers in his last 5 games. That's useful. Adam Duvall in the 6-hole. That's a huge improvement. I mean, I love, and maybe coming in with flat ownership here is one thing. Like they're basically overowned just slightly, like by about 1%. But I don't know how you could not possibly not love just stacking up this team over and over again, 1 through 6. What do you think?
Yeah, Brett Anderson being a contact guy, definitely. And you mentioned the weather temps and all that. Man, the Braves were bringing it to Burns, Woodruff, right? And now they get Brett Anderson. So it would be baseball for Anderson to have the best game of the bunch.
God.
I mean, if we had to create a scenario where he spoils our expectations, Anderson does have a 64% ground ball rate to lefties and almost a 58% to righties. So he's keeping the ball on the ground as well. And that's by design. For those ground ball rates, he still somehow manages to have a really high home run per 9, especially to lefties, a 1.42 home run per 9 to lefties so far this season. But yeah, if you're going to challenge a guy like Jorge Soler, who's batting second with Freeman as his protection, that's a little different than Kaufman and Ryan O'Hearn. I don't know who's buying him over there in Kansas, but like that's a fun spot for him to be able to get some quality pitches against a contact guy. And then Ozzie Albies definitely gonna be one of my favorite infielders to roster today. Riley's been pretty hot. Dansby Swanson with the did he have 2 yesterday with a grand slam?
Dansby Swanson, put some respect on the name.
Hold me closer, Tiny Dansby. Adam Duvall. Yeah, I'm in on the Braves, but I am going to concede that ground ball rate for Anderson could be a little challenging. And I was kind of surprised to see the Braves have a lower top stack percentage than, like, I don't know, the Mariners, the Mets, somebody like that. I felt like that would have been higher than that. So they actually come in as is this the largest negative or the second largest negative leverage spot too? So if you like the Braves, you're gonna have to really invest in them to get some leverage versus the field, it looks like.
Yeah, I was gonna say I just refreshed that here, and they definitely took a big jump up. So I'm surprised. Maybe part of that is a result of seeing some of these other lineups where things are moving around a little bit here. Sunday can be a day of rest for many people, for the Lord and for Vlad Guerrero Jr. and other people. So there is that. Looking at the other side of this, though, and I will say, I have a lot of Milwaukee stacking interest today, which against Charlie Morton doesn't seem like a guy you want to pick on too much. Limits hard contact, keeps it down, 27.7% K percentage. Going to be getting some strikeouts here in this one for sure, but I just think the game environment is absurd. I mean, it's almost 90 degrees, 60% humidity, winds blowing out to left, to center left, I should say. 4.2. This game seems like one I might want to be taking an over on as well here. Can I talk you into some Milwaukee? Very, very positively leveraged in the top stacks tool today as well.
I mean, yeah, versus that type of ownership on the pitcher. Like these top 3 projected owned pitchers, I guess maybe, I don't know about Montgomery, but like sometimes I'll take 5% of the other team just in case. And Charlie Morton being a projected 30% ownership. I mean, if I can hedge my own exposure to him, but also maybe hedge the field with like a 4 to 6% of the Brewers, I don't think it's a crazy stand. But I the ground ball rate, like there's not a lot in the metrics that make me project upside, not necessarily just for this matchup, but also for the field. Like there's a lot of other teams that just seem like they're going to be better investments. So I'm not there, but if you had some Tyrone and some Escobar guys like that, I wouldn't push back.
All righty, let's move ourselves on over to Cleveland. Let's go over to Cleveland here. We've got the White Sox here on the other side, plus 142 for Cleveland here. Just over 10. So 10.5 total runs here. And no, excuse me, 9.5. Good math by me. 4.2 plus 5.3. Wow, that was fantastic. Let's go to Cal Quantrill and Jimmy Lambert. That's kind of the matchup we were all expecting here for August 1st for both these teams. I would not say I was expecting such things. I'm looking at Jimmy Lambert's FanGraphs page here. Fine 29th team rank, overall rank, not even ranked there. You got shelled in his one outing there. 74 pitches, only put up 4 Ks in that spot. Just went short. You went 3 2/3. I don't know. This does not seem like a good spot for Jimmy Lambert, or on the other side of it, Cal Quantrill up against this ridiculous White Sox lineup that adds Cesar Hernandez, is starting to get healthier as they're going here. They don't have Eloy in there today, but on the whole, are we looking at pitching here whatsoever?
No.
Yeah, cool. There, I love that. You know why? Because that saves us time. And now we can talk about what we really care about here, which is the bats. Cleveland lineup, not very good, but Jose Ramirez for ML Reyes, the 3-4 combo. As long as that exists, I'm going to be playing that pretty much every single slate. I don't mind Bradley Zimmer here on the other end of it. Oscar Mercado now in the 5-hole. I don't know who Owen Miller is, but he's 2K. So there's that. Miles Straw, the cast-off of the Houston Astros. They gave him the nah wave. Now he's in the 8-hole here for Cleveland. How are you handling this team, stacking them up?
Man, they've been kind of scrappy this series too. But yeah, you mentioned Jose Ramirez and Franmil Reyes. Those would be the two guys that I'd seek after the most, being easily the most talented. Maybe Ahmed Rosario in front of Ramirez, positive correlation, and we'll get some decent pitches to look at with J-Ram behind him. The rest of the lineup is chipping chairs, man. Whatever happens. Bradley Zimmer, a fun leadoff guy for min price on DraftKings, 100 above min on FanDuel. I guess he traded places with Miles Straw after yesterday. Miles Straw not doing well. I guess you could say that was the last straw. EMac. I'll be waiting for your response on the next on Live Before Lock.
Live Before Lock, his response. What will he do? Let's go and talk about the White Sox here on the other side here as well. Gavin Sheets in the 4-hole here, 3.5K. He's the guy who's really sticking out with me. Cesar Hernandez, 3.5K as well. But then sandwiched between them, Tim Anderson, Jose Abreu, Yohan Moncada. It's a really good baseball team, 1 through 5. And then Sebi Zavala, the greatest hitter in the history of baseball yesterday. Holy mother of God. 9-hole, 2K spectacular.
Dr. Sebi, the most controversial Sebi that ever existed. Yeah. How did he stay in the 9th spot? Like, I get it. That was an anomalaic performance, but you gotta have some fun with that. Let him go up 6 in the 7th spot. But yeah, imagine being on the White Sox all week and then they were underwhelming, and then yesterday happens, and it's like the sitting at the slot machine for an hour and you don't win, so you get up, walk away, and some old lady sits down and plays Sebi Zavala and cashes out, and you're like, that's my money. Yeah, give me some White Sox. 5.4 implied run total. Decent way. You're corpsing on me, bro. Concho's definitely somebody that can get beat. So I'm there on the White Sox stack.
Okay. Anything else from bats here in this one?
No.
Cool. All right. We're moving on. We're moving on. That was so good, dude. Honestly, your asides and your tangents, they're not as good as your De Niro, but they're pretty close. Can I see a De Niro quick for the road?
No, we have to have 200 likes. That's the rule.
Ooh, I love what you just did. Hit that like button because we want to see De Niro from Guntacker on the way out. That'll be his sign-off. Will be the De Niro look. Let me tell you, folks, if you've never seen this thing, my goodness, you're gonna love it. All right, Minnesota Twins going up against the Cardinals. Adam Wainwright on one side, Michael Pineda on the other. Michael Pineda did not get moved because, again, why would people want Michael Pineda? That was my questioning for everything leading up to the deadline. As a Twins fan, could have probably been all right with moving him for anything. Give me
y'all move J Happ. Like, don't stop.
Give me a Domino's set. Give me, I don't know, give me something in return for Michael Pineda. It's like a garage sale. Like, I'll take the $3 torn sweater over having Michael Pineda here in his 45.5% hard hit percentage and 464 expected slugging and doesn't miss bats. Oh, but he limits guys from getting walked. Either way, Michael Pineda, is he on your list whatsoever today?
No. I wouldn't be stunned if he had a okay game, 7,200 against a righty heavy Cardinals in Busch Stadium. But early on, he wasn't somebody that made the cut for me. But how did they trade him and not or trade J Happ? Like, how did that happen? But Pineda, like, I don't know. Pineda's not good, but J Happ's. Yeah.
And I said, no. Yeah, I don't want J Happ. There's no way. This is great. And Jose Barrios, his case showed up this season, but on the whole, he's been so hit and miss forever. And, a lot of big games. Again, this is like the Twins have played in many big games, but Barrios is always kind of struggling in those spots. Either way, I don't mind going to Adam Wainwright whatsoever. In fact, I believe Adam Wainwright was the guy who was at the top of my pitching model this morning, but we're seeing 27% ownership. He's 4th on the top pitchers tool. I wanted to see this Minnesota lineup. It does not have Josh Donaldson here. Kepler, Rooker, Polanco, Araz is going to make contact and such here. But then you get to this back half. Garver, Sano, Larnach. I mean, specifically Garver, Sano. Those K percentages there that exist there, 29.1%. Sano, 35.7%. And Larnach, 33.7%. I mean, those are some guys who miss the baseball in an NL park. I don't know how you don't love Adam Wainwright in this spot. He's going to probably be my highest owned pitcher. What say you?
I think I'm not in love with the price on Wainwright, right? I can't really
totally.
I come out and I'm harsh on like Stroman's price. And it's just kind of the same thing, man. He leans more towards the contact side of things. But in this case, he gets a DH deprived Twins lineup. It gets a really good park. So like I absolutely see the path to success. But him being the SP4 in terms of ownership, I'm likely going to be below the field on him. So like I understand why people are playing him, but he's definitely not one of my top guys that I'm seeking after today. The Twins are kind of either strikeout or no strikeout team, right? Kepler, Jorge Polanco, Luis Ariz, and Andrelton Simmons all have teens or single-digit % strikeout rates, and then you get a bunch of 30%ers in the pitcher spot. So there's certainly a wide range of outcomes for Wainwright here, and like I said, he's not really a strikeout guy. He can get strikeouts, but just the 8.2% swing and strike rate on the season, he's getting a lot of called strikes, 22.4%. So if the Twins get aggressive, they might surprise people like they surprised people yesterday. Just a 3.6 implied run total after yesterday too.
And that's kind of what you're seeing is that this lineup, no Josh Donaldson in it here, going to be much maligned. It's not going to be a good spot for them here against Wainwright. I don't mind if you want to take some shots on some dudes. I mean, Raz is batting cleanup, which is inexplainable. I mean, he's a slappy hitter. He makes contact. I mean, 294 expected batting average, only a 10% K percentage. You alluded to that. He just doesn't strike out very often, but only a 36.9% hard hit percentage. Doesn't really fit the build of a typical cleanup hitter, but I digress. You can maybe have a little bit on the other side, 80 degrees, 70% humidity, maybe fire up a couple stacks here and there, but probably not going to be a priority of anybody's builds today. The Cardinals, however, going up against Michael Pineda. If you have anything you want to talk about from the Twins side for bats, let me know. But otherwise, Cardinals, what are you doing with them as well today?
Yeah, Pineda's biggest glaring weakness is power to lefties, 183 homer per 9 to lefties, 48% fly ball rate going from Target Field to Busch Stadium. That might keep some of those in the ballpark. Cardinals do not have lefties. They have Dylan Carlson and Tommy Edman, switch hitters. Maybe Matt Carpenter makes himself a Sunday special appearance, but I think this is not really a spot where I can isolate somebody to really take advantage of Pineda's weakness.
All right. And anything else from this game whatsoever?
No.
Okay, cool. That was a lot of fun. We have one game to go, 2 minutes. Let's play speed talking. Here we go. Seattle minus 143 at Texas, 9 total runs. In this one, we are looking at Marco Gonzalez on one side, Michael Fultonevich. They both suck at pitching. Talk to me about pitching.
Yeah, I'm not playing pitchers from this game, and this has been kind of a fun stack for me, or fun game to stack on both sides of the plate. Yesterday, my highest owned catcher was Jonah Heim, 2K. I got 2 homers out of my 2K catcher.
And he didn't win the position.
He didn't win the position. It was tough. But I'll be back at the well today. Marco Gonzalez, extreme fly ball guy, and definitely lets homers up to both sides of the play. So this ballpark might keep a couple in, but I just got to take some bets on some swings here. Culberson, Adolis Garcia, and I took a pill in Ibanez. Andy Ibanez has a pretty strong bomb detector rating for me today. So I give me some Rangers for sure.
What the hell? Okay, Marco Gonzalez is very bad at pitching. I'm just saying. 301 expected batting average. That's not ideal. 598 expected slugging. Extra not ideal. Sub 20% K percentage. Mike Fultonevich on the other side. 507 expected slugging. 44.7% hard hit percentage. Can it be a late night hammer if the game starts at 2:35? I think we can call it a late night hammer still here, but dude, took a pill in Ibanez. I can't with you today. The Mariners and the Texas Rangers here, both teams that I think you want to get to in bulk here. There's really no way around it. I can't believe Texas is only 2.6% top stack potential. I mean, that just tells you how bad their lineup is, but kind of flat ownership. I don't mind getting to them. And then Seattle on the other side, 7.4%, only 7.6% ownership share. How are you handling both these teams?
Yeah, I'm stacking them up here. Your Mariners and Ranger stacks. You might be sitting in the back of your contest for a bit, sweating some other teams. But I think the top stack percentages and the field ownership are fine. I really like that Texas ownership. Yeah. It doesn't take much. I mean, it's Marco Gonzalez, right? Yep. So I got a lot of this game.
I mean, there's just not a ton of power hitters here that exist. I mean, Adolis Garcia sticks out like a sore thumb for me today. So long as, we just got that entire lineup here. Nate Lau as well there in the 4-hole. Don't mind left on left here, even with Marco. Heim, as you said, that's going to be my dude, I think, 2K. I will play him in cash more than likely. If I had to guess, a 6-hole 2K pitcher, you should have a lot of that, dude. But anyway, we just flew through this thing. We crushed. It's 9 p.m. What are our likes at here? We just hit 200 likes on cue. I need some De Niro. As we close out, Gundacker.
All right, let's do bomb detector, De Niro. Hey, you want the bomb detector, huh? Jose Ramirez, Franmil Reyes, and Kyle Seager, top 3 in the bomb detector. You played him, huh? You played him. Gabagoo. I just got really weird with the gabagoo.
I mean, there's no better way to finish it out here at 9 a.m. on the West Coast than that, De Niro. My God, that was gold. Guys, that was Gundacker. He got you guys all the way through everything, broke down all 10 games here for this main slate. Coming up on the exact same stream, you don't have to go anywhere. We got your old pal, EMac. We got Terry McBride leading you all the way up to the 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time, lock time for Gundacker. I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck today, fellas.
Awesemo, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on the MLB Live Before Lock. I am joined by one T. McBee, and I see you look like you had a haircut recently after going like a year. I got my haircut this morning, so we're looking very dapper today.
Yeah, we're quite the nicely trimmed group here. Yeah, a couple weeks ago now, it's from mine. I actually have since realized that like there's one or two like little strands of hair like back over here somewhere that the dude missed. So like I'll put my hat on sometimes and then I'll be like, why is there a hair in my eye? And it'll just be like wrapped around from the back. I just got to yank them out at some point. But yeah, a little just weird remnant from having long hair all that time, which was just bizarre in general. Yours is looking sharp though, sir. I gotta say.
I gotta look good for the wife. You know, she just did another half marathon this morning. So if I can get my haircut and look good, that's a fair trade-off, right? I get to slept in till 6:30 today. I'm planning on taking a nap later this afternoon. I'm gonna go get her lunch.
Nice.
So there's
a nice, beautiful husband. What a guy.
Yeah.
Cleaning up his act, getting her lunch. Nice guy.
Oh, we have some good times here. We've got some crazy baseball. We'll kind of bounce around since they did such a great job talking about everything. We'll kind of go through pitchers. We'll go through some stacks. We'll get to some questions. Looks like we have the majority of our lineups. We're still waiting on the Cardinals, and it looks like Miami at this point. So nothing too crazy there. Some interesting remnants here from the trades that are creating some unique lineups. Also, the site seemingly have lost track of some of the pitchers. Yahoo did not have Kyle Gibson in their player pool today. DraftKings somehow priced him at 6,900 going against Pittsburgh. Some people were saying they're having trouble getting Jose Abreu on FanDuel. He's in the player pool. He's $9,000 unchecked. The show starting pitching only or whatever that little checkbox is, and he should pop up if they haven't already fixed that on FanDuel, but he is in the player pool. Any other things that you noticed about today before we dive into the good stuff?
Just for FanDuel to add to that, if you're using the app, I don't think they have that unchecked feature, but you can just use the search icon and just hit the little magnifying glass and search for Barrios, and you'll be able to find him. He is in there. I checked before we came on because that was a little strange that he wasn't sitting there at the top of the pitcher pool.
Yeah, that someone said that in chat, and I've run into that issue before. And it used to be the sites are so much better now about projecting the starters and stuff. We don't run into it very often, but it used to happen all the time, especially if there wasn't an officially announced pitcher. So
all this hand holding now, they tell you who the starters are. They tell you who's in the lineup now. Like, they just give you everything these days. Nobody needs to know anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a long time ago before we had starting lineup pages. We didn't really have Twitter for DFS. People would play pitchers that weren't starting all the time.
This is what I'm talking about. Yeah, I want people rostering Clay Kershaw on this slate.
Clayton Kershaw, Justin Verlander. Oh, I got to start my lineups off with those guys. This is 10 years ago.
They're great.
There we are. All right, a couple things I want to mention. Hey, we've got some new YouTube channels here. We have the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel, just crested over 5,000 subscribers. You guys want to check that out? That's where all of the NFL season-long best ball, etc. content is landing. We do put some of it still on the main channel as well, but you can always find things over there. We also have the Awesemo Odds channel that is available on YouTube as well. That's going to be a lot of sports wagering. That is Awesemo Odds. Get it? Wagering odds. That's a pretty nifty name for that one. And we also have Bet U, is like Bet University. It is a new podcast series that will also be out on the Awesemo Odds channel by Ben Raza and Matt Kajeski, talking about season-long props, win totals, etc. for college football, Heisman totals, season-long yardage totals, all that fun stuff as they start to approach kickoff here. We're 3.5 weeks away from the first college football game. So right around the corner, Terry.
Sounds about right. Are you a big college football guy? Do you have a college football team that you follow?
Well, I did University of Washington because that's where I went when I moved over to Virginia. They became harder to watch. And since the advent of the Pac-12 network, they're almost impossible to watch because they're usually the late game in nobody wants to carry the Pac-12 network out here in Virginia. So I'm relegated to borrowing the computer logins of one of my good friends or my brother to watch the games if I manage to stay up late enough, because they usually don't kick off until 10 or 10:30 my time. So
makes sense.
Try to follow along as best I can, but it's a little tricky here. But let's jump on into today, Terry. We got a lot of pitching to talk about. We've sort of hinted at Jose Abreu, who is 8,600 on DK, 9,000 on FanDuel, 43 on Yahoo. He gets a nice matchup going against Kansas City. They are playing it is Kansas City, right? I've lost track of everything today. Yes, Kansas City. They're actually playing in the Rogers Center. This is the first series that has been played in Toronto by the Blue Jays in almost 2 years. So I guess 2 seasons would be an easier way to say it. But that is fun to see that they're back to able to do the traveling, at least for the time being. We have Kyle Gibson, as I mentioned, 6,900 on DK, 9,000 on FanDuel, not in the Yahoo player pool. We've got the elder statesmen, Charlie Morton and Adam Wainwright. They've got some decent matchups today. You've got Reynaldo Lopez. Did they finally announce him officially? No. They go away from him. Do we know who the official?
I thought they had.
I'm seeing Jimmy Lambert at the moment, so we'll look into that a little.
Yeah. Reynaldo had been in that the spot that you're looking before.
Yeah, and then we have Adbert Azalea going against Eric Fetty, not Fetty Wap, but Fetty. He is their, what is that? The Iowa Cubs taking on the Rochester Red Wings. Is this what's now happened to the Cubs and Nationals? What do you want to do here with pitching? Because there's no aces, as somebody wrote in their article today. That would be you. Free article in front of the paywall. Tournament Leverage. Check that article out. What do you want to do with the pitching? Because we've got some definitive, not even quad A teams. We got triple A teams on the docket.
Yeah, I think there's some interesting spots to attack with some arms that, they're not premium arms. They're not even the good pitchers or lower strikeout percentage guys than the absolute aces that we see where they're cracking up toward 30%. We're dealing with a lot of low 20s guys, a lot of mid 20s type guys. So I think it's a pretty good day to spread out and just kind of take some shots with some of these different guys. If you're building 150 lineups, get to different pitchers with different combinations of teams. Use the leverage column in the top stacks tool today. There's a couple really, really solid looking stacks that are going way under owned. So I think just getting to a nice mixture of those and then just mixing and matching in different combinations between your stacks and varying up these pitchers is really the way to go. Today for me is a big time spread out and get just broad, capture a wide range of outcomes slate, kind of a slate, because this could go any direction. I have a few ideas of where the hitting is going to come from, but the pitching I think could go any which way. It's going to be a really interesting slate to watch.
All right, I'm just looking here to see what we got. It sounds like Lambert is starting. However, there is still a chance that Reynaldo Lopez is the main guy coming out of this. So let me see if I can find a little bit more. We'll talk about that. Lambert, I'm not quite as interested in but I'm more interested in Lopez. But we'll see if we can get additional confirmation on chasing that down as if Lopez is coming in as the potential bulk guy. And just to put it out there now, the only concern with Lopez is he pitched on Thursday. So even though, breaking down Lopez quickly, we'll just do that rather than, we're not going to put the hook in yet. We'll just tell you right now. So he has made 10 starts in AAA this year. He has been up. His last start down there was July 9th, I believe. In his last 3 starts, 3 of them were one in August, at the end of June, and then 2 early in July. He went 91, 91, and 82 pitches, or maybe it was 92, 92, and 81, something like that. But he has been working out of the bullpen. He has pitched twice in the last 7 days. And the most recent was on Thursday. I want to say he went like somewhere between 38 and 40 pitches. So if he goes today, I would expect 50 to 60 pitches. He is just completely mispriced at $4,000 on DraftKings. He is 26 on Yahoo. He is 5,500 on FanDuel. Not nearly as exciting on those two sites because there's already enough cheap hitters that you can pretty much do anything you want there. But on FanDuel, on DraftKings, he does become interesting if you're looking for around 10, 12 tops fantasy points from that one. Talk about your pitching approach though, because I think this is going to be one where there's not as many of playing both sides of these games, in my opinion, today. However, there's the spread out your whole starting pitchers. I don't really see the need to go more than 30% on anybody for DK.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at. Is this slate just it runs deep? It's not very good in terms of the quality. You're not talking about guys who are going to run you up to major scores, or not very likely to. But there are probably 10 guys on this slate who could put up similar type scores and could conceivably win you a slate. So I think it's definitely a very good day to just start putting these DK pitchers together in different combinations. And guys in play for me would include Kyle Gibson, Jose Abreu, Jordan Montgomery, Alcantara, Wainwright, Pineda, Morton, Stroman, maybe some Marco Gonzalez, some Adbert Alzolay in there. I didn't even mention. I don't
Monty.
think. Oh no, I did hit Charlie.
The full Monty.
That's go crazy. But I didn't even mention Lopez down there in that 4,000 if he goes. So I mean, there's just a lot of different unique kind of combinations you can put together. So yeah, that would be that. And there are guys in there that I like better than others. But for me, yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a day to really spread out and just put them together in different ways and with different kinds of bats.
All right, I'm just poking around here. I'm not seeing anything good here on Lopez coming in next. And again, because he recently pitched, I'm a little nervous about that. So, Chad, if you guys find anything or see anything, post the link or source the source, and that would help us out dramatically.
So we're now if you do, let's say we find out Lopez is going to be the bulk reliever coming in the second inning, and they expect him to pitch 4 innings or something like that, and you decide, all right, I can roster some shares of that for 4,000. Is that a spot where you're going to be getting the Indians on the other side of it in different lineups and hedging yourself on that Lopez play? Because I mean, guy has given up a lot of power in his brief career. He does have some pretty strong indicators for giving up some power again today. Not the greatest version of the Indians lineup, but there are a couple hitters up toward the top of it. Is it a spot where you'd be looking at both sides it a little bit? I know you just got done saying it's not really a both sides are kind of day, but that one actually does kind of stand out as a both side spot for me.
Except it'd be really isolated to Jose Ramirez and Franmil Reyes. I'll probably end up, I haven't done crunches yet. I would imagine at 2K flat, and we have to play 3 outfielders. So I'm going to get some Oscar Mercado on DraftKings. If Bradley Zimmer's 2,000, it's like these guys were priced to face Cy Young himself.
Well, that's the other crazy thing about this team is on DK, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You could make an entire lineup that is $2,000 guys out of that Indians team, which is just bananas. So you can do basically anything you want. And it's unfortunate because it's not even a day where you need that savings for a couple premium pitchers. It's not like we've got Max Scherzer on the slate to spend up to. So that kind of sucks. But I mean, you can get to Cleveland and anything else that you want, just to throw it out there. And it's not like, like you said, they're priced like they're going up against Cy Young, and they are certainly not.
Yeah. So Street Preacher asking that our little diatribe there, and he is absolutely correct. Would not really call out anybody that is a value or a definitive on single entry contests or even on FanDuel on the one pitcher side. And there's really not a particular person to call out here, in my opinion. I would think most people are probably going to go Jose Abreu. They have a 2.5 to 1 chance to get the win. We don't like to predict wins for pitchers. This is how fickle wins can be. The last 2 days, I play every slate, so I have literally every combination of pitcher there is. I didn't get 2 winners on the same roster on DK. It's almost impossible to do until we go look. And I was like, that seems weird. They must not have been tracking this or whatever, because I'm on my quest for crowns and their achievements and all that fun stuff. But if you go look at yesterday's, here's the winning pitchers: Herman Marquez, Alex Vesia, Jesse Chavez, Jorge Alcala, Justin Garza, Edwin Diaz, Spencer Patton, Chris Stratton. None of those guys started except for Marquez. Kyle Hendricks started. Lucas Ludige, butchered that name. Andrew Kittredge, John Means, he started. Jaime Barria out of nowhere. Jay Jackson and Alec Manoa. There was 4 or 5 in all those names yesterday that were starting pitchers that got the win, and every team played yesterday.
Yeah, so wins are a garbage stat. That's why quality. I mean, quality starts are way better. That's why FanDuel at least uses both bonuses and gives you a little something for the quality start. But yeah, our dynasty league once upon a time switched from wins to quality starts, and then for some bizarre reason, we decided to switch to innings pitched this year, which I can't stand, but I digress. But yeah, but wins are nonsense. Starters don't have a ton of control over whether or not they get a win. So it's just kind of a wonky stat and doesn't really tie hand in hand with that. But I think what the person was really asking is like, who is our favorite pitcher? Who's the top end guy? Who's the one guy if you're going to lock in on that $888 lineup or whatever it is? That's the answer, though. I think I agree. It's probably Berrios on talent, but I don't know if it is on matchup. I think on matchup, you've got Waino sitting there. I think he could rack up a lot of strikeouts against that Minnesota lineup. For me, in my projections, it's a pretty tight board between Berrios, Montgomery, Alcantara, and Wainwright. And then sitting slightly above those guys, actually, I have Kyle Gibson because he's getting a little bump from just how anemic that Pittsburgh offense is. But he doesn't strike anybody out, and Pittsburgh doesn't strike out against right-handed pitching. So I'm a little bit concerned about the overall upside there. For tournament play, though, I do like Gibson a lot just because he's going significantly under-owned compared to all those other guys I just named. And nobody in there is a lock to like run away and hide. Nobody in there is a lock to be like, all right, even if they do drop 3-4 runs on him, he's still going to strike out 12 guys and put up a good score. We don't have a pitcher like that today. So I think you can get away with some more Kyle Gibson on this kind of a slate than you normally would be able to, given his numbers, given the Pirates' ability to not strike out. If he gets through clean, I think he gives you a pretty decent shot at it today. So I don't hate Kyle Gibson off the top.
All right. I see people asking about the weather. No real weather issues. I've noticed some of our favorite DFS weathermen are talking about some potential rain in the Washington, D.C. area. I wouldn't worry about that. If they just wait an hour, there's not going to be anything. And we just had the storm come through here, and it wasn't even really a storm. It was just kind of light summer rain, and then it's gone away. So nothing crazy on that one. And then we got to give a shout out to Brandon McNeil. He says, EMac, Terry, love and appreciate you guys. Thanks for all you do. Have a wonderful Sunday. Well, thank you, Brandon, and thank everybody else. Thank you to everybody else who's watching, because without you guys, we would not be able to have fun and talk a little baseball on a Sunday morning. It's good
there you go.
Here. Good times. All righty, let's
Brandon McNeil. He fits right in with our little Mac and Mick thing going here.
Oh, indeed. Well, T-Mac, EMac, and BMac now.
There you go.
What wrapping up with sort of pitching here, because I wanted to round into the Adbert Azalea and Eric Fetty. It's not, they're not facing amazing offenses by any stretch, because both teams literally traded everyone who wasn't nailed down, with the exception of Juan Soto and Wilson Contreras, I think was the other guy. But everybody else is gone. I mean, like I looked up yesterday and somehow Yan Gomes, I'm like, wait, when did he get traded? You know, John Lester, somebody wanted John Lester. Really? What's going on here? Wow. So just everything.
The Lester trade, if nothing else, the Lester trade and the fact that J Happ also got traded just shows how ridiculous, yet again, how ridiculous it is. If you're left-handed, you will get a job in baseball. Like if you can throw the ball at all with your left hand, they will give you a job and they will keep you in the league. It's unreal that those guys were assets at the trade deadline.
It's wild. And we've been saying for 3 years now that we wanted the Cardinals to get a couple lefties in their lineup. No, hitters. We want lefty hitters, not pitchers. Not pitchers. But so the thing that surprised me, and I guess that's sort of a testament to their talent, is that these run totals weren't that crazy, like 4.5 on either side, which is not great for the pitcher, not great for the offenses. But I would have thought the pitchers might have gotten a little bit more respect considering these offenses. I mean, some of the players the Nationals are running out there, I'm looking at saying, who? Who's this guy? I know Andrew Stevenson. I know Carter Kaboom, but who else? I don't.
Yeah, my model's having a similar reaction with some of these names in here too. It cleaned up a little bit today, but yesterday some of these dropped in with some of these teams, and they were just blanks. And it was just, my model was just like, I don't know who that guy is either.
I had to look up Yadiel Hernandez yesterday. I'm like, that name sounds vaguely familiar. Who is it? And now today he's batting cleanup. I didn't realize he had like 60 some at bats this year. I was going to say 69, but unintentionally, ironically, but there we
104 plate appearances.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, I'm like, how did I miss this guy? Because I watch a lot of the Nationals games because it's the game that's on here more often than not, even though I have my MLB package. But now I don't know any of the players. So I'm going to go back and sit on my porch and yell at kids walking across the grass. And then when I'm done yelling at the kids walking across the grass, I'm going to go out, stand out on the grass, and I'm going to yell at the clouds.
I love it.
There we are. And then I'm going to take a nap. It's going to be awesome. But back to
officially be Grandpa Simpson. I love
it. Pretty much. All right. What do we have officially on pitchers? So we've danced around this enough. Definitively, it's 6 or 7 guys that could easily be top 3 of today. I don't see anybody breaking the slate as a pitcher. I see a few of these guys imploding, but I could see those 7 guys all spinning quality starts too, and just being like, I guess it didn't matter who we had rostered at pitcher today.
Yeah. It could end up just being a mixed bag where all these guys are within a couple of points of each other. They're all within a few dollars salary of each other, and it just doesn't matter. It comes down to bats. I could easily see that being the case. So again, that's just another argument for spreading it out and just continuing to just put these guys in different combinations, not really sweat whichever one of them is, just consider them similar, consider them equal, pay attention to ownership and leverage, and pay attention to the spots that they're in, but kind of consider them equal as you're swapping out parts. So instead of forcing something, saying, I need that extra few $100 to get to Wainwright, be willing to take, Jose Abreu, be willing to take Marcus Stroman, although that's not my favorite of all of them going up against Cincinnati there. But, be willing to take some of these other guys instead of doing something like taking a bat out and forcing a pitcher in where that you would normally try to do. On the one that we were just dancing around a little bit, is Alzolay in play for you at that $9,200 price on DK? I think $7,500 for him on FanDuel is kind of interesting, but $92 on this slate is pushing it, I think, considering the other talent on there. Great matchup, of course, like we were saying, but is he in play for you at that price, or was it more about Fetty at $7,900?
It's going to be, I really think I'm going to cap everybody at 30%. So I'm really going to get some of each of them. He will probably be, I would guess, somewhere around 15-20%, just because on a price per dollar perspective, the optimizer is going to find something else. But then it might start looking at raw totals. And because there are so many $2,000 players on DK right now, price really doesn't matter for these guys. So he would be a guy I wouldn't put the thumb on the scale to change. I'll just sort of get whatever I have. But similar to that, it's going to be same story with Marcus Stroman. It's sort of like, they don't have the amazing strikeout upside. They have the ability to not get destroyed. How many pitchers do we think are going to get destroyed amongst the players that we're looking at? And again, we're coming back to the same answer. And I hate this answer, by the way. I don't know. I don't have strong convictions on any of these guys. And that's a hard way to go. Because usually with pitchers, I'm like, all right, if I was breaking it down, like last night, FanDuel, I did 150 in the whatever their 5-cent contest was, and I told you, I haven't played FanDuel forever. I chase the overlay and just hand build a lineup every now and then, probably 2 or 3 times a week, but on the sub slates. But I never just make a concerted effort to do it. And we had all the lineups in so early last night. I said, I'm going to try 150 on FanDuel. I don't even know what settings I was going to use. I was just like, let's just run this. Let's trust what the Awesemo stuff's giving me. Let's utilize Fantasy Cruncher. I kind of have an idea of what I wanted. And I only ended up getting 4 pitchers, and on 150 of them, 1 had Joe Ross Jr. The others were 3 pitchers. And I was like, great. Who was it? Darvish, Nola, and I think it must have been Herman Marquez was probably my other one.
Or Woodruff, probably.
Oh, Woodruff. Thank you.
But, yeah, because there's the 3 of them up on the
yeah, and it was just like, okay, that was fine. I was perfectly comfortable with that. No issues whatsoever. And I don't feel that way today. I feel like there's a lot of you can cast a very wide net. And flipping it the other way as we get into who do we want to attack? How many gas cans are really on the mound? Now, for as many of these guys that were the Keller brothers, I guess, no relation, funny enough, there was 3 guys, Woodruff, and not Woodson. There was 3 guys named Wood yesterday. Basically, today we got both Kellers going. We had the Andersons lined up for the last few starts. They got broken up by 1 here.
Only one Luis Garcia that I know of today.
Yep. Well,
although there are 3 in the league.
There are 3 in the league right now. but we digress. But back to this, I'm okay with it. But who do you think is the weakest pitchers? Let's start there as we move into our stacks, because there are definitely teams we want to stack. But how many bunnies are out there besides Michael Fultonevich?
Well, yeah. So there's Faulty, right, and then there's everybody else down. Like that is the gap between these guys. He is the worst pitcher in baseball in terms of giving up power. He is ridiculously targetable. He's made, I believe, 20 starts this season. If I haven't written him up 17 times about attacking him when he's been pitching, I'd be stunned. I've been targeting this guy all year long. It's been paying off all year long. He yields significant power. He strikes out over 106 innings in 20 starts, 16.8% of hitters, 5.16 xFIP, a 1.36 WHIP, despite a surprisingly nice 5.5% walk rate. Only induces 8.2% swinging strikes, only has a 25.2% CSW percentage, 10.5% barrel ball rate, 44.4% hard hit rate, and a 91 mile an hour average exit velo. Has given up, I think it was 31 home runs in his 106 innings, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like 10, 12 more than anybody else in baseball. Just ridiculously targetable. I have double-digit home run marks for the entire lineup up and down for Seattle. Anything over 10 is typically the magic number to be over an above-average chance. So the entire lineup for Seattle has an above-average chance of hitting a home run, according to my usually fairly accurate home run model here. So that's not what they normally profile like. So I really like getting to different combinations of Mariners up and down in different ways. And then I think there are other guys. You mentioned both Kellers are very attackable. I'd probably prefer to attack Mitch with some of those Phillies bats rather than going after Brad. Just in that off chance that Brad finds his form, he's the guy who had been so good at keeping the ball on the ground, limiting hard contact, keeping the ball in the park last year. I think he's got more just ability and talent in a right now kind of a sense. Mitch Keller has more probably untapped potential and upside, but I think Mitch is the more targetable of the two Kellers there. Spreading it around, I think if we do get Ronaldo, like I was saying when we were talking about that game, I think at least with the premium Cleveland bats, he's targetable there. I think you can get a little bit of targeting on probably both sides of the Baltimore-Detroit game. So there are different spots to go for sure for bats. It's just a matter of making sure that you're not on the most popular pitcher and the most popular bats at the same time, because there's going to be money to spend. So you can kind of put together anything that you want to today.
All right, Adam B, a little salty. I recommend a little hair of the dog on Sunday mornings. That my younger days, maybe that's what I would have done. My older days, no, I go to bed early and I get up early at the crack of dawn, so I don't have to worry about hair of dog anymore. But he says, I don't understand why Live Before Lock has less structure than the Deeper Dive. Great question. We'll talk about that. These dudes have been talking for half an hour and they've mentioned like 5 names, all pitchers. Excellent point as well. So Live Before Lock, we just went game by game. You want everything. You got a little banner on the side, and it'll go look at whatever matchups and listen to that part of the audio. And this isn't being dismissive. For this show, what we're trying to do is we're trying to wait till we get all the lineups in. We're still waiting on 2. So we're going to talk pitching first, then we're going to talk hitting, and then we're going to try to take some questions here. It's a little more free flowing on Sunday. The other thing on Sunday that has things go this way is the fact that a lot of times we get the air quotes Sunday lineups. A lot of times we're throwing a curve. Today, not so much, and maybe on a couple of the pitchers, but not particularly. But a lot of times for regular lineups. Well, we're not that far removed from the All-Star break. We just saw the trade deadline, so there's been a lot of moving parts. So really outside of anybody that got hurt, sorry, Fernando Tatis, and catchers that caught yesterday and are now playing a day game, we kind of know what most of the lineups are going to be, unless we're just writing it off as a mostly AAA lineup. So that's what we're working on here. And we're trying to throw a little strategy into this as well, because we don't have a strategy show. And those are some of the main questions that we have. Plus, thirdly, guess what? We're almost through the season. We have now had what are we at? 130 some days of baseball that we've had so far, Terry. 128, somewhere around there. No, that's a bit much. I'm going to tell you what it is exactly. It's 122, I think, is how many days of baseball we've had, counting the All-Star game. But
something like
so what happens with hitters? They're either facing a lefty or a righty, or that's what happens with pitchers. And what happens with hitters? They're facing good or bad. So we kind of know what we're doing here. So we're going to have some fun today. So hit that like button. We got 800 of you in here. Ask us some questions here. And we're always open to tweaking the show. They asked us to give this format a try.
What really drives live before lock is
yeah.
it's a free-flowing format, and you guys are supposed to be asking questions. But I mean, you answered that question very, very nicely. You gave that person a very detailed answer and gave them and steered them in the right direction to find what they're looking for. My answer would have basically been, if one show has deeper in the title, expect that one to go deeper.
And again, not being this is like, hey, it's like we're talking fantasy sports. We're having fun. You guys aren't going to say anything that gets me too riled up. Occasionally you can, but certainly not that question. It's a totally fair question. This is just something we're trying to just a slightly different format, because some people.
And now we spent another 5 minutes not giving any picks thanks to that person asking that question.
That's true. Okay. That's very, very true. Point. I'm going to put that point. Adam B gets a point for that one. So, all right. But now we're going to get back to some stuff. Hey, Awesemo player props. Definitely want to start looking at that. It'll help you both with DFS as well as sports. So, sports wagering, it's free. I'm going to drop the link into there. And we just got the Marlins lineup, so we're going to have a chuckle at this one. I'm going to play Who the Hell Is That Guy? Have you looked? I'll make up some names and you tell me, are they a Marlins player or are they not? But check out the Awesemo odds, and we have Odds Shopper. We have the Awesemo odds, 2 different websites that are free. They're sister sites of Awesemo here. They're breaking down all the different sports wagering, as well as a lot of other betting content, strategy, and season long, meaning going for that postseason hardware, win totals, all that fun stuff as we head into NFL. And remember, 17 games this year for NFL. Not 16 like we've been used to. I'm trying to remember if I was alive or if I was watching TV, shall we say, when they had the 14 game season. I think it's always been 16. Jordan, what are you doing?
You remember the leather helmets?
My dad played with leather helmets, no face mask.
Jeez.
Well, technically, I guess it was more of a plastic-ish type, but I know I've seen the pictures. He looks like the old school Heisman, where they're making that funny jump throw. He's an offensive lineman. He's doing the throwing the football pictures. All right, so now I'm way off track talking about high school football from 1956.
JL, those are DVDs, and yes, I do watch them. They're movies, not CDs.
Let's go here into the true stacks. So Blue Jays going against Keller, probably number 1. Phillies going against other Keller, probably number 2. We're going to talk about the batters of Birdland a little bit here. The Mariners, who, again, you're looking at that line of saying, how many of these guys are scared? And by the way, we both have the same home run call today, Mitch Haniger.
Ah, nice.
So I was laughing when I saw that in your article. I kind of went with Kyle Seager and Mitch Haniger, but I both get one guy from each side of the plate.
I think I kind of did too, because I think I gave Seager as my pick from the Mariners, and then I used Haniger in my main overall pick. I told you I love targeting faulty, so I mean I think somebody called that actually in Slack chat. It was probably Cubs fan or somebody like that was like, I bet Terry's going to write about this in his article, and sure enough.
Oh, and then I posted my article right after that, and they copied out my section too, where I was talking about faulty. So there we are. All right,
throw bats at that dude.
So we're audibling here. This is from the premium Slack chat. Jeremiah Johnson says, talk me off a card stack in my main lineup on FanDuel today, the blue side. So we give them a little moment here. He has a feeling that they're going to crush Pineda today. Most of his career, Pineda has been kind of reverse splits. I see a 10 spot for St. Louis. Well, my other 2 home run calls are Dylan Carlson and O'Neill. So I have to go see if those guys made the lineup. But I like the way he's thinking. Let's talk them. Let's talk Baltimore, and then we'll get into the popular stacks.
Yeah, so that one's not exploding off the page for me, but that's a lineup that I can get to, particularly when nobody else is getting to. I do think there are some premium hitters in that lineup, despite some struggles this season. They've been pretty good for home runs, a little bit behind where I expected them to be in terms of some of the hit tool around guys like Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado. Those guys are better than 269 and 267 batting average wise, better than 339, 322 on base percentage wise. Slugging's down a little bit. But overall, I think there's enough power there, enough DFS upside, DFS scoring that you can definitely roster this team in different spots. I like getting that all the way down to Paul DeJong at the bottom of the lineup by 14 home runs and 281 plate appearances from a shortstop is nothing to sneeze at. I think Tommy Edmonds, at least a little bit interesting, switch hitter, can steal some bases, 6 home runs, 18 stolen bases on the year. Wish he would get on base a little bit better than a 302 clip, because then he could hit up toward the top of the lineup and be a little bit more effective for this team. But yeah, I can roster the Cards. They don't, like I said, explode off the page against Pineda here. What I think they could definitely string together is some sequential hitting against him here on top of their potential power. So maybe they put together a few hits, score a few runs that way, and then they've got a few guys on base. Somebody goes deep, and yeah, I can see suddenly a pretty big number to pop onto the page there. Pineda gives up a 10.1% barrel ball rate, 43.6% hard hit rate, 90.2 miles an hour of average exit velo. So definitely a targetable pitcher here. So yeah, I can get with the card stack, no problem.
All right. Let's see. And then I'm going to drop in. So we didn't have any our premium content, nothing in front of the paywall today, but Terry and I each have our articles here. I'm going to drop those into the YouTube chat. Those are free every day. Terry writes a tournament leverage article that focuses on a specific offense of the day that he breaks down in excruciating detail, player by player. And then I do spotlight pitchers. I do spotlight pitchers and top stacks, where to make sure I'm not writing the exact same thing that Terry does, I do a stack for each slate, right? And then I do a high-end pitcher, a mid-tier pitcher, and a wild card pitcher, just to kind of keep things different. So between us, we're going to have some time for questions here. Between us, we've got about 6 or 7 hours today of writing about this slate and putting it into about 4,500 words. Terry getting more of the words than me, but we both put a lot of stuff in here. So we're primed and ready to go with enough shenanigans, but we'll get in here on the true analysis here as we continue to work through the stats and stacks. And I'd like to get us about 15 minutes here to talk questions that people may have. But so we both agree the Mariners are way up there. We both agree that the Blue Jays are up there. How did you feel about the New York Mets going against Vladimir Gutierrez, who strikes out more than Jaime Barria, but not as many as Michael Fultonevich?
Boy, that's some great company. Yeah,
he's 25 and he's Cuban, so he has the better odds of being an actual good player.
Being talented, having talent in his veins. I love it. Yeah, and I love targeting the Cuban guys for upside and catching them when they land here. It's always a good spot to go for dynasty guys. But yeah, Vlad Gutierrez in this spot, wouldn't be rostering him as a DFS pitcher, and I would be attacking him with some Mets bats. I get some nice power marks around the obvious Mets names: Pete Alonso, Dominic Smith, Javi Baez, now a Met sitting there in the middle of this lineup, pulling a nice home run mark. These guys are all getting ownership. That would be the primary concern, is just putting them together in different ways than the field. And you've also got kind of a weak back end: Brandon Drury, Kevin Pillar, and Thomas Nido. Not the greatest trio on the back end, so they might have a little bit of difficulty turning the lineup over. But again, it is going up against Vladimir Gutierrez, so there is some possibility that even those guys can come through for this team. They're all cheap. They help you offset some salary, help you offset some ownership if you have to. But I think that you get, in addition to the power upside, with Gutierrez, 15.8% strikeout rate with a 10.5% walk rate and a 10.4% barrel ball rate. That puts him at a negative 5.1 in my BBB minus K metric, which just makes him incredibly targetable for sequential hitting. What he's done well is limit hard hit to 33.7%. 16.2 degree average launch angle does trend toward home run trajectory. 89.5 mile an hour average exit velo does lend itself toward home run upside. So I think the Mets do have that home run upside. They do have that sequential hitting and run creation upside. It's just a matter of a couple of these guys getting the right part of the bat on the ball, and I think it'll travel here. So yeah, target the Mets.
Right.
Figure out a good way to put it together.
Yeah, Conforto batting fifth. Nice little bump up there for him. Former team narrative, not that matters. But no Brandon Nimmo is still dealing with the hamstring. They thought he was going to play today. So that's that, along with putting Brandon Drury in the lineup, was some unexpected items there for them. Let's see. We didn't hit specifically enough here on Baltimore. Is this, for me, it's a function of Baltimore being mostly right-handed and not getting the love that they deserve when they're facing lefties. You've got kind of a group of I don't want to necessarily say no-name hitters because a lot of these guys are now in their second or third year. They're just not household names yet, and they're all probably could have utilized the pandemic shortened year. Some of them getting a little more time in AAA. A lot of these guys we've seen as September call-ups each of the last couple of years. Now that they don't really have the massive expanded rosters anymore, and Baltimore sort of shipped everybody out, these guys are getting regular playing time. But you've got, I'm trying to call up their lineup here, but you've got Austin Hayes leading off, who excellent power, doesn't get enough credit for it over his last 131 at-bats against lefties, a 208 ISO. You've got Trey Mancini, phenomenal. If he was a Yankee, he'd be an all-star like every year. I think, well, I don't know where he'd play if he was the Yankee, but he's amazing. And just doesn't get enough, doesn't get his due and proper. You've got Ryan Mountcastle, who does have a fair amount of power, not as good in same-handed situations, but I do like him against lefties. And then batting cleanup today, you've got Anthony Santander, who is phenomenal. You got some stolen base upside with him. And then we've got a little bump here with Maikel Franco, who, you know, for all the holes in his swing, when he connects, he can still take people deep. He's batting fifth today. He's 3,100 on DK, 27 on FanDuel, 14 on Yahoo. You take care of the third base criteria. Not a lot of positional costs at that position today. I kind of like him, but I don't know that we really need the savings. But they're sort of the breakdown on the batters of Birdland, as I like to refer to them. Anything you want to add there for the Orioles?
No, that got it pretty much top to bottom. I think I would be probably 1 through 5 on it. I don't know that I need to go to like Ryan McKenna, Pat Vallejo, Austin Wins, and Domingo Leyba on the back end of it. Another team where maybe the back end starts to hurt you a little bit in terms of turning the lineup over. 3 of those 4 guys below the Mendoza line. Vallejo is sitting at 203, and only Ryan McKenna is above a 300 on base. So you're struggling a little bit. Everybody below a 100 ISO except for Austin Wins. So you get a bad marker from each guy in different spots. All these guys are way below average in run creation. So the back end of that lineup is ugly. But I do really like the top end. I'm getting good home run marks on those guys. They're all cheap, particularly on FanDuel. The only guy over 3,000 is Mancini at 34. Everybody else is in the mid 2s, so they're easy to get to. They're drawing some ownership, though, which I don't love getting to this team with ownership. So maybe for me, I might start just considering on the FanDuel slate, especially where Santander is going only 5.4% owned. I kind of like a Santander one-off, or maybe like a Santander Franco if you're going to like a 2-man build, or grab those 2 and one of the other guys, you know, grab those 2 in Mountcastle, those 2 in Mancini, just to offset the lineup and offset the ownership and do it a little bit differently. So I think there's ways to put them together from the top 5, but it's a little thin because of that ownership on them. So I do like the spot, and I love Santander is only 2,000 on the TK slate. I'm just noticing that. That's a wild misprice. He was 165 plate appearances last season. He hit 11 home runs. He was hitting like a house of fire until he got hurt last year. This year, he missed part of the season. He's come back. He's only got 6 home runs in 256 plate appearances. But we know there's more than that in this bat. He is a good hitter, so I would get to Santander.
All right, we're going to move quickly to the Marlins and Yankees game. One of our contributors, Blaine, is asking, are you getting to your Yankees today? And I'm going to say, how are you feeling about Montgomery? Now that we do have that Marlins lineup, Miguel Rojas, Jazz Chisholm, Brian Anderson, Jesus Aguilar, cleanup hitter, Lewis Brinson, Brian De La Cruz, I don't know who that is. Sandy Leon, I know who that is. And Magneuris Sierra, I know who that is, but he is your 8th hitter. So we have an interesting lineup there. How are you feeling about Monty at 7,400 on DK?
I like Monty a lot in this spot. I wrote about him in my article this morning, and it's only gotten better, to be quite honest. I think it's a very, very strong spot for Montgomery. You're looking at a Marlins lineup that is second worst in baseball with a 26.7% strikeout rate against left-handed pitching for the active roster. And this is a bad version of their lineup, so you're getting some of the worst end of that. They have a 2.64% home run rate against lefties. That's like 3rd worst in the league. 132 combined ISO is, let's call it 3rd or 4th worst, somewhere in that territory. Create runs 16% worse than average against southpaws. So it's a great spot. And Montgomery is one of in terms of this slate, 24.3% strikeout rate, one of the higher strikeout rate guys on this particular slate. So you're taking one of the better strikeout guys, putting him up against one of the best strikeout options. I think it's a really good spot. He's drawing significant ownership on DK, though, almost 50% ownership because of that price tag. The way we were talking about this slate with all the different spots to spread it around, he still is one of the cheaper options that does profile really, really well. But like, I don't know that he's that far out ahead of, let's say, Mikey Pineda. I don't know that he's that far ahead or even ahead at all of Kyle Gibson, who costs less. I don't know that he's that far ahead of Marco Gonzalez, who costs less and is also in a very good spot going up against that Texas team. So I don't think that he warrants 50% ownership. I do really like the spot. I'm comfortable if I come in on DK at like 25, come in at half the field, you're still getting to a good share of Montgomery. You're still going to get some of his upside if he does connect. And if he doesn't, then, you know, you're not completely going down with the ship with the entire field. I think I would probably grab a few Marlins hedge stacks here, at least with the quality hitters that we know, the Jazz Chisholm, Brian Anderson, Jesus Aguilar trio, maybe throw Lewis Brinson in there because he does have some power upside. I don't love it, but I would grab a few of those maybe, especially if I was rostering Montgomery anywhere near the field.
How do you feel about the Milwaukee hitters? How do you feel about the Atlanta hitters today?
About the Atlanta hitters?
Yes. Going against Brett Anderson. Too many Andersons.
It's a team that I always like getting to. Just pulling them up now. Yeah, they're projecting like middle of the road for me in terms of the power upside in my home run model. And they've added some significant power hitters into this lineup. They brought Adam Duvall back. He's in this lineup. They've got Jorge Soler in this lineup now. So they've kind of filled out around the edges of the Ronald Acuna injury. They brought in Jock Peterson immediately. He's been leading off, but against the lefty, they'll give him the day off here. So you get Ozzie Albies, Jorge Soler, Freddie Freeman, Austin Riley, Dansby Swanson, Adam Duvall. 1 through 6 there, I really like that setup. So I would definitely be getting to different stacks, different combinations of those guys. Brett Anderson's totally attackable here. 14.2% strikeout rate on the season, induces a 5.7% swinging strike rate. So he's just not going to be able to sit hitters down. 11% barrel ball rate, 6.7% walk rate. So even with the low-ish walk rate, he's at a negative 3.5 in my BBB minus K. So targetable for power, targetable for sequential hitting, 47.1% hard hit rate on the season. This is a lineup that can absolutely tattoo Brett Anderson in this situation. As I've been talking about it, I've started to like it even more.
All right, question 1. Can we get some cheap FanDuel bats and the safest FanDuel pitcher? I think we've sort of landed on Jose Abreu as the one we would probably go to. What do you like on any of the discounted bats? Not that is there anything to spend on FanDuel today? Let me ask the question a little differently.
I don't know if there's one super spendy stack. I think there's so many players that are just priced in the twos and on the relevant teams that it's just kind of easy to put them together. I can click through real quick. Like the Braves, I guess, are a little bit on the expensive side. So, you know, if you're looking at stacking them, they're all above 3,000. So maybe that's where it gets difficult. But getting to another team that I like the Phillies, you've got a significant portion of the lineup is in the low twos. The Yankees, even not crazy expensive with half the roster in the low threes and a couple guys in the low twos, although I don't know that I want Brett Gardner and Tyler Wade in there. So I guess we're specifically looking for cheap upside hitters on FanDuel was the question.
Yes.
I mean, it's easy to just answer that with look at the Mariners lineup. In my opinion, it's my favorite spot on the board, and there are significantly cheap hitters in that lineup. Like you can get Jared Kelenic for 2,100 and under 2% ownership. I know he's been terrible. 119, 201, 200, 3 home runs on the season, 0.081 ISO, creating runs 82% worse than average. But he's going up against Mike Fultonavich. He's got power. He is a high-profile kid. That's going to come around at some point. Abraham Toro, we know, has power, 2,500 in that lineup. Ty France, 2,800. Even Kyle Seager, if you want to just go veteran and not really worry about it, is only 3,100. So, I mean, there is a lot to like in that Mariners lineup in that spot. Just looking around, I can pop up the home run model and see who's trending up Ty France was a name I just mentioned, 2,800. So several of the guys I just mentioned are at the top of the home run model as well here. Harold Ramirez, not sure if he's in the lineup, but he's a cheap guy, 2,100 on FanDuel, getting a decent projection on him in the home run model. Several of the Orioles as well in the 2,500s, Mountcastle, Hayes, and Santander, all 2,500 and 2,600. So those are some of them.
All right. A couple questions here. This is from Josh Norkin Premium. Would you go Jose Abreu, Ozzy Albies, or Javier Baez? Let's rank those for home
all
run.
different positions.
Let's rank them for home runs.
All right. So it was Javi Baez, Jose Abreu, and who?
Ozzy Albies.
Ozzy Albies. And Javi Baez is no longer on the Cubs, so I've already cost us a minute there. Javi Baez. All right, if we're going by home run, Javi Baez was a 13.08. Ozzy Albies was a 7.91. And who was the third guy?
Abreu. Jose, not Bobby.
Yep, I just had to find it. Goes by away team, so I had to find who they were playing. Jose Abreu is 7.16, despite going up against Cal Quantrill. That's kind of interesting. He's not giving up. Yeah, he's not giving up major home run upside apparently in my model here to them, but he is giving up some upside for sequential hitting and for run creation. So I actually like the White Sox spot, but I'm not getting major power profiles, which is interesting. So for that person, if we're going by my home run model, it would be Baez.
All right, let's see what else we got. EMac's top stacks on DK. I'm putting in my stacks now. Let's go to the top stacks. We can look at these together, I guess. So I like to start, and people ask me this question a fair amount. So today's slate, we got a lot of teams. I'm going to start everybody at the baseline of 5 teams. I like, I'm going to put it at 7 or at 10, and then the double stack will allow them to go higher than that. I do like Philadelphia today, not doing cartwheels. They are a 7. Pittsburgh is going to be a 5. Chicago and Washington, I think, sort of cancel each other out. I don't like the full lineups on that one, so they're 5s each. Kansas City, I'm going to put up to 7, only because I'm hoping that gets me a little bit of leverage going against Jose Berrios. Given a 10 to Toronto, because I really like them today. I'm going to leave Baltimore and Detroit alone because there's enough cheap hitters out there I'm not worried about. The Mets, I'm going to go up to a 10 on the Mets because I'm looking to be a little contrarian, ideally, on that one. Miami, I'm going to go 7 just because I'm hoping to get a little bit of a bump. Milwaukee, I'm going to keep it 5. Atlanta, I'm going to keep it 5. Cleveland, I'm going to keep it 5. Chicago White Sox, I'm going to put to 10. Minnesota against Wainwright, I'm keeping it 5. St. Louis against Pineda, I'm going to 10. Seattle, I'm going to 10. Texas is 7. So what I'm doing there is that I wasn't keeping track in my head. That's probably close to 130 or so %. So that's going to give myself freedom to allow the crunches to work. If you go too high, you're not going to get a nice mix of teams. I want a nice mix of teams today. So I'm trying to keep some of them down. And then some of the ones you're not going to get it if they're going against good pitchers. So if you start out at 5%, it's not going to stop it from being the overall, it's not going to prevent your perfect lineup from happening, but you're probably not going to get them. We have a ton of Jordan Montgomery. So I'm literally, like I said, I'm just going to go 30% on most of my pitching. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That'll give me basically 8 or so pitchers. I'm gonna put everybody at 5, and then just move the guys, the top 8 or so, up to 30. With pitching, what I try to do is go between 220 and 240. Otherwise, the crunches take forever to run. Stroman, I'm only going to put at 10. Fetty at 10. Alzolay at 10. Looks like I'm more or less coming in where the field is. I'll live with that. I'll take 5% of Jimmy Lambert because he is starting, and then 5% on everybody else. My 30% guys, I'm going to push Marco Gonzalez down. What are you doing with Gonzalez today? Going against Texas, he's a decent pitcher, gives up a little bit of power. You know what? I'm going to keep him at 30. I'm going to go over the field.
Yeah, I don't hate the spot. I think he's at least interesting. He projects kind of middle of the field for me. So for 7,000 on FanDuel, 6,500 on DK, I think he's definitely in play in that spot. We know there's tons of strikeouts in that Texas lineup. The confirmed lineup, 22.7% average strikeout rate, but that's helped a little bit by just a couple of guys in there. So like Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is a 15% guy. Andy Ibanez over only 122 plate appearances at 12.3. But you've got several guys over 30. Several of their key hitters are over 30, particularly Adolis Garcia, 30.3, Nate Lowe, 26.3, Eli White toward the back end of the lineup, 30%. David Dahl, 27%. So it's an attackable lineup. There's strikeouts available. Marco, not the biggest strikeout guy in the world, 19.1% strikeout rate on the season. I think that's a spot where I would maybe start to hedge, if for every Marco Gonzalez or for every 2 Marco lineups I put in, I might put in 1 Ranger stack and just kind of hedge it that way, because I do get some not significant power numbers, but definitely concerning metrics around the sequential hitting and run creation possibilities against Marco. He walks a few too many, doesn't strike out enough, and gives up way too many barrels and a little bit of hard hit here. So I'd be a little concerned about that, but he's definitely interesting for price and spot.
All right, we have 5 minutes to go. Am I on Sandy Alcantara at all? A little bit. I will let you know in just a moment. We just got the St. Louis lineup as well. So now I got to hit refresh. Now I'm going to download my lineups because now I'm starting to get into panic mode here. This is what you guys like to watch, is me not quite with the Eric Lindquist meltdowns on there. I've had my moments.
Well, why don't I pick up and talk about Sandy Alcantara for a minute, and you can take the lineups and put them in. So it's a spot where I don't necessarily know how much I'd be getting to him because he's going up against what is a much better version of this Yankees lineup now. That said, we do get the version of it without DJ LeMahieu from his injury, without Giancarlo Stanton in this version of the lineup today. Gave him 2 days in the outfield, didn't want to roll the dice on a third day, which is a decision that I applaud. He's a better outfielder than he gets credit for, but those legs just don't hold up when he has to be out there. But still, you get a much better version of this lineup with Anthony Rizzo and Joey Gallo in it now. But on the back end, certainly a lot of strikeouts left in it, including Gallo. Ton of strikeouts there, obviously, but the titanic power upside and the solid walk rate that goes a little bit unheralded. That's the thing about this Yankees lineup and attacking them with a pitcher like Alcantara, who doesn't strike out too many guys this season, 21.3% strikeout rate on the season. There are a lot of strikeouts, but they're a discerning lineup as well. And he doesn't work around the plate quite enough. He's got a 26.8% CSW percentage, which is combined call plus swinging strikes, but he's doing that with a 12.2% swinging strike rate. So his called strikes are way below where they should be. And against a lineup that is very, very patient like the Yankees, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's call it 7 guys in this lineup that have over a 10% walk rate. 6 guys in the 8-man lineup, rather, that have over a 10% walk rate. And some of them very, very high, like Gallo's at a 19.1. Gary Sanchez, for all the dings he takes, 13.2% strikeout, 13.2% walk rate. So these guys are patient enough. They do put great bat on ball, numerous guys over 40% hard hit. It's not a safe spot for Alcantara. Can he find additional strikeouts here? Absolutely. Can he give you a decent score here? Yes. Is he the best play on the slate given price and all these different considerations? I don't think so. Just because we've got so many options that all look the same, I don't know that I want to attack this Yankees lineup with him. I would maybe grab some shares, but I'd probably be underweight to the field. Did you get your lineups in?
No, I had a fantasy cruncher issue. So now I'm recrunching and it's going slow. So it looks like I'm going to run a lot of 5-0s today.
Those when those last minute crunches never work. You couldn't do a restore crunch or anything?
No, everything locked up. So that's all right though. It's only money. We say this all the time, Terry. Terry gets these quotes from me all the time. It's only money. I just need one lineup to break free. Those are the messages I sent Terry.
And I always, I nod and say, yes, these are my thoughts exactly. These are the things that I know well. I just sit there and watch some of mine go down in flames as well.
Well, fortunately, we've got the best ball drafts. I've been running strong with those. That's been a lot of fun using the Awesemo rankings on that and just checking out the different things we have from a whole host of new contributors. The ones that you guys will, of course, know are Laffy and Matt Kajeski, but that we have 5 or 6 other people that are contributing to this that are new to Awesemo this year, and they are noted people throughout the industry, both for best ball as well as for fantasy analysis. So I think that is something that you guys all want to check out. You can do that at the new Awesemo channel on YouTube, Awesemo Fantasy Football. And then, of course, we also have the Awesemo Odds Show. You're going to get new show debuting. The first podcast is out now, but it's Ben Rasa and Matt Gajeski talking all things college wagering as they get ready for the season. They're talking about win totals. They're talking about potential postseason hardware, etc., etc. Let's get this uploaded here. Fingers crossed it'll work. It worked. Got my 443 lineups in. We're all set. So we got all sorts of content coming to you at Awesemo. Tomorrow, we're really rolling things out in earnest when it comes down to the football here. We, of course, have the breakfast menu. That is the betting, the daily, weekday daily betting show or a video on demand, I should say, from Ben Rossa, and Laffy's joining him on that one today. Josh Engelman is on vacation. We have pricing out on DraftKings. We're going to do a show on that at 1 o'clock tomorrow. You're going to get 2 o'clock tomorrow. You're going to get Laffy and Ben talking about week 1 pricing. It's never too soon to start thinking about that. Now we're going to be talking a lot about drafting and who's sharing what backfields and all that. So a million things will change between now and week 1 lineups, but it's fun to start to kick the rust off, try to remember lineup construction, figure out what we do, how do we stack stuff, etc. But that's going to be being a go forward show. And then, of course, all sorts of baseball content. We've got the deeper dive and live before lock going on tomorrow, and all sorts of other goodness. The strategy show with Greg and Adam gets things kicked off at 11 a.m. tomorrow. So we are going to have lots and lots of fun on that one. Whew, that was a lot of moving parts. Any final thoughts here, Terry, as we check stuff out?
I think it's coming up on maybe cram some brunch in my face and then take a nice long summer's nap.
I'm definitely taking
for the afternoon.
Yeah, I've got the nap thing scheduled, but I got to go figure out when my wife wants her to pick up lunch, because she gets to pick the spot because she did run the half marathon this morning. Well, I was writing articles and getting my
physical exertion. You get to, you just had a nice, luxurious morning of sitting around, doing your thing, talking baseball with your pals. Yeah. I'm glad nobody needs me to pick them up anything, because I've not really slept for like 2 days and I am just going to be out cold.
Well, and enjoy that. I'm sure somehow you're going to get sidetracked by Netflix or watching a movie, because that's what you do. But we're going to get on out of here. So thank you to Terry over there on Twitter at DigitalB21. I am at EMac DFS. Follow us on Awesemo_COM and Awesemo MLB. We got all sorts of goodness out there for you. Hat tip to Jordan, best producer in the business. With that, gamers, good luck.